We are living in very, very scary times.
And a woman has been arrested by Cheshire Police in relation to an inaccurate information on social media.
Today, some other people have been given whopping great big terms in prison for social media posts.
I guarantee you will regret taking part in this disorder, whether directly or those whipping up this action online.
Scotland's new hate crime laws have come into force. Some people could be investigated by police if they misgender someone online.
How many people do you think were arrested in Britain for things they said on social media last year?
I've no idea.
3,300.
Really?
Police will be the source of truth and not social media.
The U.S. is a tough one because, you know, we have the notion of the First Amendment.
There are Americans who are engaged in this kind of propaganda. And whether they should be civilly or even in some cases criminally charged is something that would be a better deterrent.
If people go to only one source and the source they go to is sick
Meeting after election day with
has an agenda and they're putting out disinformation, our First Amendment stands as a major block. It's really hard to govern today.
So my biggest concern is that your view has the First Amendment hamstringing the government in significant ways.
The First Amendment is not absolute. It does not protect any single thing anyone says. And there are limits, and that's important. And what this committee has been trying to do for the last year and a half is to chill the federal government from monitoring what is going on social media.
And pretend that they know what our founding fathers meant when they drafted the Constitution. I use the word pretend because who the heck would know?
Choices that were made in adopting the Constitution have come to haunt us. Isn't it time to start thinking of a new Constitution?
Founders in 1787, if they came back in 2024, the first thing they would say, I think, is, our system did not work. What happened?
And how do you balance free speech versus crazy stuff that, got people not to take vaccines, for example?
Right.
There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation.
Musk is sort of trying to pretend sort of freedom of speech is an absolute right. It's never been an absolute right.
Moderation is a propaganda word for censorship.
They want Elon Musk gone, X turned off, and freedom of speech stamped out.
Brazilian Supreme Court Justice Alexandre de Moraes instructed X to crack down on users accused of spreading misinformation. In his decision, Moraes said, quote, X shall refrain from disobeying any court order already issued.
Elon Musk really showing contempt for the government and its approach on this issue. What's your take?
He has absolutely no social conscience. Someone like that should be in jail and the key be thrown away. That bloke should not have a right to be out there on his own ideology platform.
This bloke thinks he's above the law and above common decency. This shouldn't be a matter of the law. It should be a matter of people doing the right thing.
To provide users with corrections to disinformation and misinformation. And Mr. Musk, you obviously don't know what I'm made of.
The privilege of using those words in that way should probably be taken from him.
Because some people in your crowd thought they might have been shadow banned by Facebook. I mean, for God's sakes!
This is the third election in a row in which Russia has tried to interfere, to try to get Trump into the White House.
He's also got a brand new, very, very powerful tool, which is Elon Musk and X. We have Elon Musk talking directly to the Kremlin.
This is a matter of corporate responsibility. Twitter should be held accountable and shut down that site. It is a matter of safety and corporate accountability.
Deep fakes and manipulation of elections, that hurts democracy, and we think this law is sound and will be upheld in the courts.
So we're regularly making sure social media platforms are aware of the latest narratives. You shouldn't be banned from one platform and not others for providing misinformation out there.
Information isn't truth. Most information in the world is junk. Most information is lies and fantasies and fictions. This is why you need institutions like newspapers, like universities, like courts, who specialize in sifting through.
No right given to the
people of the United States is absolute, and that includes the right to free speech.
We do have dedicated police officers who are scouring social media. Their job is to look for this material and then follow up with identification arrests and
We
so
are not
forth.
trying to censor speech. We are simply trying.
Oh, my bad. 1 second.
Information.
To try to correct the facts is to infringe on my right of free speech. Protective measures were taken to take down disinformation about vaccines and about the nature of the virus and about protective measures we could take, including masks. Again, something should be celebrated.
The government is now even relaunching a secretive pandemic-era spy agency to monitor social media.
We need some regulation on social media. That's the bottom line. They haven't done anything in 30 years.
We see this fight against social media platforms doing content moderation, and we see it empowered by Congress and people who are, powerful people, Elon Musk, et cetera. And what does that do? That makes our nation less safe.
I think that we can't be afraid of putting controls on social media in the name of First Amendment free speech.
You're going to pull something off the internet and collude with a social media platform to make sure Americans don't see it. Who determines what's false?
Congressman, we don't do that.
That's not true. That is not true. That is not what the court has found. This is not a Republican talking point. This is what the documents show.
All right. I hope everybody's having a good day today. I hope you're ready for a crazy week, because it will be crazy. You could probably see some of that in the markets today. I think Palantir has earnings. That should be interesting. We might cover Amit's face for part of that. So I got to say something. So there's going to be a ton of people that tell you that the election doesn't matter. They're going to say that because historically it doesn't. It really doesn't. It doesn't matter for markets. It all goes up. And one could argue that the market will go up after this too if Kamala gets, anointed. And that is true. It will. But what I care about is the future of America. And I've said this a bunch of times, but it's great that Bitcoin is around. But I still want this country to succeed. I don't want it to fail. I don't want it to fail and then Bitcoin does really well. I don't want to pay $100 for a fucking cheeseburger that should cost me less than 10. And then have Bitcoin be at $1 million. Okay? That doesn't serve us, guys. Don't get me wrong. It could be a hedge. But if our country is destroyed, it will not serve us. It will save us, but it won't serve us. And I think you have to really look at the next 2 days and avoid the noise. And what is the noise? The noise will be any economic data that comes out. The noise will be people telling you that Elon Musk is in bed with Vladimir Putin so that they can get ready to arrest him in the years ahead. Okay? And the noise will be just everything that happens in the next 48 hours until we know who won this election. So, economic data today, we don't have much. We have factory orders at 10 o'clock. You could honestly skip today's stream. Tomorrow's too. I'm not even doing market recaps for the next 2 days. There's no point. There's really no point. So I'm going to check up on comments here in a second. I got more stuff to show you. There are good things. Bitcoin, T-Mobile's parent company, is mining Bitcoin. I think that says a lot. And again, I think Trump's going to sweep this fucker. And I think the election's going to be done in 48 hours. That's what I believe. And I don't just believe that based on hopium or some uneducated thesis. I believe that based upon tons of data, of which we'll be going over some of that today. Anyway, let's get to comments here and see how you guys are doing. I'll pull up the heat map real quick. We can take a look at that. Oil's up. Everything is all over the place. Again, it's just like, how much signal do you think you're going to find right now? It's not a lot. So let's do this pre-market real quick here, and then we'll start having a conversation and some dialogue, okay? Render OG, election week, big freaking week. I agree. Jesse Kronyak, not to be confused with Jesse Micro to Macro, says, good morning. 2 more days of turmoil. Yes, hopefully only 2. Nick says, good morning, all. Render says, gonna get crazy. Alex Garcia says, crazy high volatility this week. I agree. I think we're kind of in a holding pattern, but I think we're trending down, just like I said last week. I think that's kind of the pattern. We're gonna get really tight in the next 48 hours as people get scared. On both sides. Team Miri, hello all. Get ready for a crazy week. That seems to be the consensus. Everybody's saying good morning. Bitcoin still looks good. It does, but again, if America falls, if we let freedom go, if we turn into a uniparty state, if we're not pro-growth, if we're not for smaller government, if we're not for a sustainable budget in the Department of Government Efficiency with Ron Paul, Elon Musk, and Cantor Fitzgerald, if we're not trying to end wars that could destroy society, if we're not voting for 6 presidents in one, what does it even fucking matter? It doesn't. Not if you live here. Not if you live in a free country around the world. If America falls, you're fucked. Let's just be clear. All right. Machiavelli. Hopefully Palantir does good today. I'm hoping. I actually don't think they will. But it's a great company. And they could. And it's going to be a tough. I think it's going to be tough today. It's going to be tough today to get a bid. I mean, you had companies, big tech companies last week that did really well. I mean, really by every markable measure. And they got destroyed. So I don't know. Again, like Palantir's a great company. We'll see what happens. High expectations are high and the forward PE is 101. So the people that like to say that Tesla's overvalued, this fucker is like 35 points more. So, all right. Chicken Bro, I won't be able to sleep this week. I haven't really slept. Andy Zhao says, Kamala, you're fired. I agree. I hope that happens. TJ, the wheel deal. Market loves certainty. That would be a best case scenario. I agree. Hey, it was nice meeting you, TJ, on Finance Junkies yesterday. That was actually fun. You guys are a cool bunch of people, man. I don't like to do a bunch of shows with other people because you might know this by now, but I'm not the most politically correct person. I've got opinions and I'm not afraid to voice them. And I don't care if it offends people or makes them uncomfortable. So that doesn't always work on a lot of different streams, but I had a good time with you guys. You guys were cool, man. JD says, Jesse's the GOAT as usual. Thank you, sir. Tesla downside movement makes me think explosive upside soon. I agree with that. Once Trump wins tomorrow night, we will see Tesla doing really well. Bart, as a non-U.S. person, I'm tired of this election. Still hope Trump, for a Trump win. Yeah, I hear you, bro. I think everybody's tired of it. It's just so important. And again, plenty of people will tell you historically that it doesn't matter. But when you have a party that is against everything that America was founded to be and who wants to change the First Amendment in our Constitution, I think it says a lot about what's happening this election. Albert, let's see if my prediction of BTC is waiting for Trump's win to launch materializes. That would be mine as well, sir, and I think you're right. Akash, Albert, agreed, my dude. Alak R says, let's get Palantir to 30 so we can start buying again. Yeah, I don't know. Again, we'll find out soon enough. If you guys, I don't know exactly what time earnings might be coming out soon. Are they pre or post? Are they post? I haven't even looked. Let's take a look at the earnings calendar. I only own one share, so I don't really pay attention. You know what I mean? Let me see. Post market. Okay, so that's this afternoon. So I might just have to watch a midstream because I'm not doing a market recap. My daughter is going back to her old school today. She's been struggling to kind of find her place in school, and I'm going to pick her up in the Cybertruck to try and give her a good end to her day. That's my priority today. So I will not be doing a market recap, and I probably won't do one Tuesday too because I'm going to be doing an all-nighter, literally, potentially all night with the election. So yeah, probably not going to do a market recap. Not going to lie. Rumi, miners are getting killed again. Awesome. It's all noise right now, guys. I don't even care. Mike Shumadi, no matter how crazy things get in the next 48 to 96 hours, do not sell. Agreed. That is one tried and true thing. It doesn't even matter who gets into office. You need to take that approach because it will stabilize. We'll just see the truth of what society believes for a moment, and then we'll go back to business. So just remember that. I agree. Royal Palms, thoughts on TLT post and pre-election. So my thoughts are the same. If we don't vote in a government that is going to help us pay our bills in the future and that isn't trying to reduce the size while ensuring that people still have money in their pockets to offset the inflation that we just had, then TLT is fucked. The entire U.S. bond market is fucked. I hope you know this. So I will not, if Kamala wins, the one major change I will make is I will not be looking at the bond market as a hedge. I don't know that I'd short it when it's at a route that goes back to the 1700s, but I mean, I don't think it's a viable investment. It's just not. Daniel Dibb, change your camera. Seems skin color is different. I actually realized that I modified it a long time ago, and so I reset it. I realized that when I was on Finance Junkies yesterday, that my color scheme was quite a bit different. I don't know what I was doing. I was probably just fucking with it a long time ago. So I did reset it. This is natural. So if I look incredibly ugly today, it's because it's natural. Jessica L., are you buying more CleanSpark? I don't know. Do I even have money to buy CleanSpark? I'll have to check. I might be able to finagle something if one of these things keeps going up. We'll see. All right, let me see who else we got here. David Parketney. I enjoyed the recent Junkies episode. Hey, man, I had a great time. Carlos was great. I loved Hines. Chris makes me laugh. I don't know that I agree with his view that women shouldn't vote. That's not really my take at all. But it's funny that he's literally betting on Kamala Harris. I've got a $500 bet with Chris Patel now. He brought it up. I didn't, but I'll collect on it. But he's betting on Kamala Harris, but he doesn't think women should be able to vote. It's fucking weird world, man. I don't even know what to say about that. All right, let's see here. Joseph Mock, morning ladies. Sathurtha Mandal, Trump is our Santa for the Santa Claus rally. I agree, brother. Joseph Mock, who's winning the election? It's going to be Donald Trump. It's already happened. I don't even question that. It's just whether or not they let him. TJ the Wheel Deal, thanks for sharing the charts. Have a lot riding on the miners. Pleasure meeting you as well. No problem, TJ. Happy to, man. Alex Garcia, Finance Junkies was a great talk last night. I'll probably do more of that. Carlos mentioned doing more. We chatted a little bit afterwards. He's a real good dude, man. Honestly, there were a bunch of people that were great on there. All you guys really were. And Hines I've never even met him before. Hines, if you're on here, let me know who you are, bro, because you're a good dude. You're really smart. I also love the way Carlos thinks. Just some of the things he was talking about, like voting based upon the number of kids you have, getting additional votes. Weird concept. I don't even know if it's the right choice, but it's kind of an interesting way to look at it because literally the children are our future. And you would think that, having more children would mean that you're more invested in the future. It's just a weird concept. I don't know that it's the right one, but it was just a cool way to look at it. I like interesting ideas that I've never thought of. So that was cool, Carlos. Joseph Mock, win Lambo? Pretty soon. Once Trump wins, tomorrow night. Andy Zhao, Dems are against the Second Amendment. Yeah, the First Amendment, and they only want to take away the two priority items for the founders of our Constitution that help make this country great. But again, if you don't think this country is great, don't fucking live here. Okay? Go somewhere else. Not that we're not imperfect. We're definitely that. But if you don't love America, get the fuck out. Go to one of these European countries. They're all about that shit. You'll be so happy. You'll be so happy. Well, I mean, until your views don't align with theirs. And then, enjoy the prison sentence. But you'll love it in the meantime. Joseph Mock, post-market. Post-Bree. Yeah. Tesla's down 2%. I could see more of that today. Peggy was talking about, I can't wait for the election to be over. Focus on, Curious Peggy, focus on Tesla stock. I believe the exact opposite. I could give a shit about the stock. And I say that as somebody with over $1 million in calls on this thing. And I do not give a fuck about Tesla's stock price right now. I give a fuck about the future of humanity, starting at the United States of America, because we're in a moment that's hard for a lot of people to understand because it's more than generational. It's multi-generational. It comes once every several hundred years when societies are determining their path forward and whether or not they're going to fall. Okay? So I get that a lot of people can't see what's in front of them. I understand that. But if you watch that video, you should be able to see that when they're going after the First and Second Amendments of our own Constitution and some of the things that make us great, and they hate meritocracy, and they want to divide us by COVID shots, black people, Jewish people, trans people, gay people, white people, all this shit, so that they can control us. I get that you can't see that, especially if all you listen to is their bullshit. I used to be that person, so I understand. I get it. But maybe just put a little bit of effort outside of your rage for Donald J. Trump and the fact that he is Hitler, and maybe spend like, I don't know, an hour or two in the next couple of days looking at the other side and seeing if there's validity to what they say. That's what I did. Now look at me. I'm on the Trump train. I got a mug that's got Donald Trump's face on it. I literally have Trump Bance 2026 magnetic things that I'm going to put on my fucking truck today and drive around town. So, again, open your eyes. Just try. Just try. A little bit. It doesn't take much. You could do it. I have faith in you. All right. Now that I've offended everybody on the other side, and for you that are still here, if you are a Kamala supporter, or if you're an independent and you don't like it when I talk about Trump, if you're still here, God bless you, because you're a greater person than I am. So I am sincere. I appreciate you. Jesse Franklin, thoughts? Is BTC pricing in a Kamala win? No. They're pricing in the risk of a Kamala win, Justin. They're not pricing in a win. She's not winning. She's not winning, guys. She's not winning. She's losing horribly. I don't know how many of you are really bad at charts and numbers, but Trump is winning by 0.1 fucking points in the international or the national polling. Why is this a big deal? Because Biden was winning by 7.2 last election, which means there's a 7.3 difference between Kamala Harris and Joe Biden towards the negative. Why is that a big deal? That's a big deal because if we go into the 2020 race, we see that Joe Biden didn't win by 7.2 points. He won by 4.5. So there is a almost 3-point disparity here on what the polls reflected and how biased they were to the left versus what actually happened. And when you add in Trump's lead with this difference, you have at least a 3% popular vote for Donald Trump. There is no way he doesn't win this election based on these numbers alone. And then you have Atlas Intel, the most accurate pollster in the last election and most elections around the world, just got done telling us that Trump wins by 2. Okay? By 2. Look at this one. Look at this one. Look at this one. And then let's jump over here to the Biden one again. Do you see a difference? Do you see a difference? And the swing states are all the same. So I'm just going to say this. He's already won. You just got to get out and vote. Tell people to vote. He's already won. We just got to make it happen. Just time to get her done, man. Don't be a little bitch and stay at home or say, I'm too tired, when it could be the fate of your children and generations for humanity. Okay? This is a big one. Wake the fuck up. All right. God, I'm going to be just horrific over the next 2 days. I am. I'm going to suck, guys. You're going to fucking hate me. If you don't want to hear politics, this is not the stream for you for the next 2 days. After that, when we win, I won't be talking about a lot unless it impacts markets. So you'll get a breather. All right. That was a lot. Concord says good morning. Albert, what is your go-to drink to keep you awake for an all-nighter? I don't know. I'm going to have to figure it out. Machiavelli, I'm really hoping my dead parents don't vote for Kamala this election. That's morbid as fuck. But yeah, we should be safe. Thank God. Freedom Options, good day, team. Victor Hernandez, all my hopes to Trump and my fellow Americans guide our path to common sense. We're going to do it, right? We got to use any influence we have with the people around us to do exactly just that. JD, wow, Jesse, your skin color looks better. Thank you. I kind of thought that too. I was like, why the fuck did I change it? Why did I look like a ghost? I don't know. But I am a naturally pretty dark person. So I've got an olive complexion. That's what my mother tells me. That probably explains why I look green in the winter too, like the Hulk. And if I work out enough, maybe I can get that. Maybe I can pull that off. Probs nibble on MS. You're probably going to nibble on MSTU, Dylan. Cool, man. Oak says good morning to you. Jessica L says great work. Thank you, Jesse. You're welcome, Jessica. Victor Hernandez, I bought the dip on CleanSpark and plan to be buying some more. You're just going to keep buying that dippity dip. It's probably a good idea. If I could figure out how to today, if I could find something that's worthy of selling, and my portfolio needs some kind of rebalancing, I will do that. It won't be too drastic though, because I avoid the noise. I don't get involved with major events and investing and trading. I don't do that. JD, I was, okay, that was that. Lim Jing Yun, looking at geo calls or puts once the election is decided. Oh, that prison stock. Yeah, wow, it could go up a lot. Yeah, that wasn't a bad looking stock, honestly. If I remember over here, let me just hop over to it real quick. We're still got, it's 7:20, we got no economic data. Let's just have some fun and jump around. But Geo Group, yeah, oh, I missed it. If you scroll past it, it goes away. I don't know if there's a way to fix that, Alejandro, but we should. I say we, I don't do shit. It's his side. I just throw out suggestions all the time, and he's nice enough to do most of them. Yeah, Geo Group, $2 billion market cap. The enterprise value alone is $3.6 billion. So I like where your head's at, Lim. And again, what do the forecasts look? The military prison system, that's what we get. We'll lose the military industrial complex. We'll lose big pharma. We'll lose big tech. But we've got the we've got the prison system, the prison industrial complex. Oh, man, what America's turned into. It's fun. All right. So, yeah, the revenues could pick up. I could see this thing going up. If we look at the yearly, I think that's the better representation here. You can see how this was going up, and then it went sideways. I do think we need more prisoners. That's easily judged just by looking around at major cities and watching groups of like hundreds of people raid stores all at the same time and do that multiple times in a week across cities. And just like some cities, I just watching Cash Jordan on YouTube, and he was showing New York. He's not even political. He never says Republican or Democrat at all. And there's the former SEC chairman is talking about Trump too. I want to hear that. We're going to listen to that in a minute. But Cash never talks like politically at all. But he talked about how all the Walgreens are closing in New York City, and how why that's happening, because one of them that's still going to be open is still getting robbed once an hour. An hour. How do these companies survive? They don't, and then they disappear. And then the people in those communities wonder why there's so few places for them to shop, why they're militarized, and why they can't afford any of it. And then they end up having to move out and become Republicans as they get older. And there's going to be a lot of that happening in the future. But yeah, I think this stock, I mean, it was flat for 4 years. The trajectory, I mean, arguably 2020 was already down. So I don't know. But I do think this does better, if nothing else, is a speculative play after the election. I think you're just ahead of the curve, Lim. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if this thing goes up. So who is that? Is that Ari Fleischer and the former head of the SEC talking about politics? I'll bite. 1 second. All right, I got to see this, guys. I'll try and get caught up in comments again. So we got Jay Clayton. This is going to be fun. All right. This is gauging the Trump trade. I want to see. Yeah, we got to see. This is a pretty thick conversation. Gary Cohen, my bad. Why did I say Ari? Jeez. Somebody get this guy some help. All right. Fuck whoever that lady is. Here we go. All right. I guess I could just do this. Scrolling is way better. All right. There we go. Here we go. I got to get a person. I need a person. You know what I mean? I need a person that does this for me. Let me go back. I screwed it up. There we go. 1 sec. Now we're coming. Horizon Trades, good morning. Daniel Dibb, looks less white. Looks good. Was it really white? I think it was, right? It looks better now. I agree. I'm going to take it. Take all these positive vibes you guys slinging my way. Here we go. Maybe. Chicken Bro says Chris is just an attention-seeking loser. I like Chris. He does like to play devil's advocate, though, in his thinking. I definitely think he likes to play devil's advocate. But I like Chris. And soon he's going to give me $500, and you can't hate somebody who gives you money.
We're just one day away from the election. Joining us now are two people we've spoken with regularly through the campaign. Former National Economic Council Director under President Trump, Gary Cohn. He's now IBM Vice Chairman, and former SEC Chairman under President Trump, Jay Clayton. He's also a CNBC contributor, and these guys are smart. And Jay Clayton just basically told us who's going to win the election. Whoever wins Pennsylvania.
I think it's hard to win the election without winning Pennsylvania.
Who's going to win Pennsylvania? That you have no idea, but you do know that it's
All right, I can actually tell you who's going to win Pennsylvania. I know, isn't this exciting? I'm already interrupting the video. But I got to show you this, man. This is good. Check this out. So we already know who's going to win Pennsylvania. You know why we know that? You know why we know that? Because of something I showed on finance. Well, I mean, first off, we know it for this, right? We know it when we see the most accurate pollster. Oh, let me over here. The most accurate pollster, not just in the nation, but like on Earth, Atlas Intel, shows Trump sweeping the election. We know it from that. That's pretty good. But we got a lot more than that. There's one chart here that Elon posted, I think it was yesterday, that is just the killer, right? This says that Pennsylvania is on track for a record major Republican victory. The gap between 2024 and 2020 is now over 600,000, which is almost 10% of the entire electorate. So this is Republican votes versus Democratic votes. And this is a comparison year over year from 2020 to 2024 to show the delta. And this year, there are 600,000 more people that are voting Republican than there were last time this year at the close date of this just a few days ago. So this is a big deal. This is a real big deal. So we do know who's going to win Pennsylvania. We know that. We know it, too, because we've got an Amish population that's massive, and they never vote for shit, and they're all voting Donald Trump right now. So we know it. We know it.
Given it's my home state, I think, look, if middle of the state turnout is high, Trump wins.
Gary, you
that's my boy.
You've been in this business.
I used to hate this guy. Now I love
Sachs and everything else. Did you see a Trump trade, and then did you see the reversal of a Trump trade last week? And what the hell was that?
Totally.
Or is it all just on the margin?
Yeah, I think it's all on the margin. I think people are trying to attribute certain things that I think are going to naturally happen in the market to a Trump trade. So a lot of people are talking about what's going on in the yield curve as a Trump trade. I don't think what's going on in the yield curve or the steepening of U.S. Treasury markets as a Trump trade. I think it's a normalization trade. I always say we all forgot what normal looks like in a yield curve.
I actually think that's fair.
Have a positively shaped yield curve. Over the last 20 years, we forgot what a normal yield curve looks like. We've had a flat or an inverted yield curve for the last 20 or so years. We're now getting a yield curve back to what it should look like, putting a risk premium in the longer dated treasuries. And I think we're going to put a bigger risk premium in because of the deficit we have. And I think
100% we're so fucking indebted. He's right. He's right about this. I don't know where he's all going, but he's right. Dario, yes, hit the like button. If you would, guys, it's appreciated.
What's going on?
I won't ask again.
And now is people may be thinking that the Fed is not going to end up at a terminal Fed funds rate of 3%. Maybe we end up at 3.25%, 3.5%. And if we need 125 or 150 basis points of steepness between Fed funds and 10 years, well, 10 years has to go up. If we're 3.5 plus 125 or 150, 10 years is too low. And I think you're seeing that reprice right before our eyes in real time.
I 100% agree. I'm going to let him finish that thought, but Albert had a comment that I kind of liked here and I wanted to speak to. It said, are Amish voting for Trump or against Kamala? A vote is a vote, but I'm curious about their reasoning. All of the ones I've listened to, and I spend a lot of time, a decent amount of time in the Amish. I spend a ton of time listening to black people talk about Trump and Kamala, because that's the most intriguing to me. The numbers are so much higher for black males voting for Trump this election. It's astonishing. It's like getting close to 40%. It might even be higher than that in the final numbers. And, you know, that was like, I think 23% the year, or 4 years before that. And it was like 17% before that. These numbers are insane. It's insane. It's almost like the black population is like 40% Republican and 60% Democrat. And to say that sounds absurd to me. And it might be a little bit lower than that, but these are monumental shifts in the numbers, and I find them fascinating. And it depends on who you're talking about. With the Amish, I would say that it's more against Kamala. It's against, they're not voting for, I mean, they're kind of voting for Trump. They're voting for the ideals of him. They might not necessarily like him. He's has much more bravado and is much more in your face and has done more fucked up shit than most Amish people want to deal with, right? But they're against communism, and they've been utterly destroyed by Democrats through globalism. And so their farms have just been gutted, just like a lot of them that Bill Gates has been buying up, right? So they hate the Democratic regime, and so whatever their true intentions are, it doesn't really matter. It's all anti-Kamala, and it's all in support of Trump's views. So, and then the black population, you got to think about these people. Think about being in Southside Chicago. I could literally show you videos. I've got plenty of them. I just have to find them. Where people in major cities that are poor and impoverished, and that especially like Southside Chicago, it's like all black, man. It's all black, the entire fucking thing, pretty much. And they're poor as shit. The violence is horrific, and they get no help. And they're watching Hispanic people who aren't even citizens, didn't come in here legally, and they're getting homes, and they're getting home loans for stuff that they aren't eligible for. And so they're literally Rosa Parks getting, I mean, metaphorically, Rosa Parks getting put to the back of the bus again. So pretend you're a black person. Maybe you are. Maybe you're a black person in this chat right now. And you see that this group, the Democrats, you think about it, and they're like, they fought against freeing my people in this country. They created the KKK. They took 35 more years to put a black person into office after Republicans had done it. And Republicans fought a war to free you. And then there's allegations that one of the Democratic presidents around that time said that we'll have black people voting for us for 100 years. And he didn't say it that nicely. He used other words. And so if any of this is true, or if you just look around and see how much better are things getting for blacks en masse in poor communities, and they're not. And then you know that Donald Trump had the lowest rate of black employment in history under his presidency, and that there's people that come here illegally that have way better opportunity than you right now. Why the fuck wouldn't you vote for Donald Trump? And let's just pretend you live in a world where you're black, again, not just black, but a black man who has been, I mean, men are attacked in all kinds of ways, right? We're the bad people. Being a white man, absolute worst. Now, I'm not even allowed to say that. You know why? I'm a white guy. And so racism can't happen against me. Okay? It can't. I'm evidently the person who had all the power. I wish somebody would have told me that when I was poor as fuck as a child. And for a period of time, literally living in a car and traveling in it with my parents. Okay? I wish somebody would have told me how much better I had it. Anyway, all right, I'll lighten the mood. Let's get back to it. Let's listen to the rest of what these Yahoo have to say. But yeah, so I think Amish people, black people, I'm looking at Vietnamese people protesting on the side of the street, waving Donald Trump. I'm looking at Japanese people doing it, Jewish people doing it. I'm seeing a whole lot of different people. And the great thing is, none of us give a fuck. We're there to support each other. And that's what I'm rooting for. And that's what's going to win tomorrow night after all of you guys vote for Donald Trump.
And I don't think it's really a Trump trade. I think it's a realization of where the real economy
Is it a good thing, a bad thing, or is it a reimposition of some sort of forced fiscal austerity when it comes to what's expected from government?
I don't know. That's something we've been discussing. Look, the balance sheet's different, right? I mean, our balance sheet is not in as good a shape. You've had super smart people on here, Tudor Jones, Stan, tell you that this refinancing wall that we have coming up and what we've got to do in terms of refinancing our debt is vastly different than things we've faced in the past. 60% of the debt comes due within 5 years.
Would you put
That's a
more
problem, don't you
stake
think?
Don't you think? Betting markets or in the polls? And here's
if we don't get our debt low, here's what we have to do. This is what we have to do as a country if we're going to be able to sustain ourselves in 5 years when this debt comes due, right? If we haven't substantially lowered the size of government, like at least a couple of trillion, like Elon Musk is talking about doing with the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald and Ron Paul, one of the greatest libertarians of all time. If we don't lower it like that, then the bond market will be completely unstable and yields will stay high because nobody will trust the debt. That's what Gary Cohen was just saying, the bald dude. And so if we don't fix this, we're fucked in 5 years as a country. That does not give us a lot of time. So if we don't vote in and get in Donald Trump, this country is going to be in a world of hurt. We can still save it in the next 2 years by just basically making it to where we can impeach Kamala Harris if she were to take office. But this could be literally the last election. So I don't know. Just remember the financial impacts long term, too. It won't affect. We've still got global liquidity at our backs. We got a lot of things to send markets higher. I'm not going to pretend like markets are going to go straight down. They'll do that maybe for a moment, and then they'll bounce back. But the danger to our country is we're at the doorstep of it, literally.
Here's what I was saying. So
metaphorically.
If it's 58% someone's going to win the election, would you get on a plane if it was a 58% chance that it wouldn't crash?
No.
Neither would I.
No.
Betting markets.
That's a really good point,
they used to underestimate Trump because people wouldn't admit that they were voting for Trump. So that's been the way it was in 2020, 2016. Now they could have overcorrected for
That's
that
exactly what
because they
happened.
put in different models.
And Kamala Harris has a 3-to-1 spending advantage, so she could just be buying the betting markets right now.
Do you think either polls or betting?
22 is overcorrected, right?
Overcorrected. Are either one of them any? Do you have any idea what's going to?
I'm sorry, Andy Zhao. Jesse, did you see the Kamala ad that was advocating for women to lie to their husbands as to who they voted for? No, but I'm not surprised.
Happen tomorrow? Either one of you.
Let's recognize what I think a couple of your guests have already said, which is the Trump voter is a different voter today than the Republican voter of 20 years ago. In fact, the Trump voter of today was a Democratic voter of 20 years ago.
Many of them.
And going back to.
All right, I agree with Gary, but I got to get to this comment. Since 27, right after Andy's comment said, I saw a group of Dems with Honk for Harris waltz yesterday on a really busy street in Roseville, California. And I only heard 2 honks as I was driving by. So think of the really busy major road, and there's barely anybody honking. If people love that candidate, like if they're 60% going to vote for him, like they're passionate about him, that you'll probably hear just a slew of honks at a really busy intersection. Tons and tons of them. And they only got a couple. I think that's telling. I think people don't realize it. I look at data all the time, guys. It's so good. It's so good. The only way this election goes away is if it's stolen. That's literally it. Hey, Jesse, Kamala ran a pro-Palestine ads in Michigan, biggest Arab population, and then pro-Israel ads in other states. Yeah, she did that in Pennsylvania. She ran pro-Israel because there's a large Israeli population there too, along with Amish. And she did that same thing. Yeah, she basically is playing both sides. Did you guys see that Kamala Harris, before we get back to this here real quick, that she was questioned about how she voted on a proposition in California to decide whether or not they're tougher on criminals? And you know what? She just didn't fucking do anything. And before we get to that, here's Kamala Harris without one of her handlers for a second. Tell me this isn't a fucking riot.
Alex.
Go for Jackson.
Thank you. Alex. Alex. Oh, I'm Lauren. Sorry. You have to say the last name of someone else. Oh, keep going.
You know what? It's 48 hours out. Everyone's a little tired. Who was with us last night?
Where's Alex? Where's Alex? I don't know what to say. Where am I going?
She's sleep deprived.
So, I don't know. That's interesting. But yeah, there's more on here. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, and then there's this, where this is why Tulsi Gabbard is on a secret fly list, where her and her husband get felt up by people every time they go to fly in a plane somewhere, because she destroyed Kamala Harris. In 2.5 minutes, she destroyed her. And look, if there's anybody that's going to be Hitler, watch this woman's face and tell me she doesn't look vindictive. The same woman who put her on a secret watch list as an American citizen.
Your response.
I want to bring the conversation
Look
back
at Kamala's
to the
face.
broken criminal justice system.
Imagine how she
that
would
is
treat you if she had a chance.
Negatively
and she didn't
impacting
like what
black
you had
and
to
brown
say.
people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana.
Fuck yeah.
She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she
We call that slaves.
fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Senator Harris, your response.
Harris would murder her if she was able to right now.
As the elected Attorney General of California, I did the work of
I came from a middle-class family.
significantly reforming the criminal justice system of a state of 40 million people, which became a national model for the work that needs to be done. And I am proud of that.
It's the shittiest fucking model ever. Look at our cities, guys. Look at California. We're going to show you this other one in a second. She doesn't want you to know how she voted to overturn a lot of the things that she has done during her term in California. She doesn't want you to know that she voted to keep things the same way they are right now. That's how proud she is of her fucking record 2 days before the election. We'll watch that in a second.
Work. And I am proud of making a decision to not just give fancy speeches or be in a legislative body and give speeches on the floor, but actually doing the work of being in the position to use the power that I had to reform a system that is badly in.
There was a mother whose daughter had medical illness, and she had her imprisoned because her daughter was too truant, even though they let them know all the reasons why. That's the kind of power this bitch will yield and do vindictively and laugh. She doesn't care if you're on death row and she knows you're innocent. What kind of human being is that?
Need of reform. That is why we created initiatives that were about re-entering former offenders and getting them counseling. It is why, and because I know that criminal justice system is so broken, that I am an advocate for what we need to do to not only decriminalize but legalize marijuana in the United States.
I want to bring
and they never did that.
Gabbard back in. Your response.
The bottom line is, Senator Harris, when you were in a position to make a difference and an impact in these people's lives, you did not. And worse yet, in the case of those who were on death row, innocent people, you actually blocked evidence from being revealed that would have
She knew they were
freed
innocent
them until you were forced to do so. There is no
Can you just imagine that? Could you do that? Could you do that? Are you evil enough where if you knew that somebody was innocent and that they were going to die, would you fight against that because you didn't want to hurt your record and you would let an innocent person fucking die? Would you do that? This woman would. How could anybody vote for her?
excuse for that. And the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology.
Senator Harris.
My entire career, I have been personally opposed to the death penalty, and that has never changed. And I dare anybody who is in a position to make that decision, to face the people I have faced, to say, I will not seek the death penalty. That is my background. That is my work. I am proud of it. I think you can judge people by when they are under fire, and it's not about some fancy opinion on a stage, but when they're in the position to actually make a decision, what do they do? When I was in the position of having to decide whether or not to seek a death penalty on cases I prosecuted, I made a very difficult decision that was not popular to not seek the death penalty. History shows that, and I am proud of those decisions.
I tell you what, when I look at that face, I see Hitler. You know why I can say that and that be okay? Because she literally was going to put a person to death who was innocent. So why couldn't she do that en masse? Tell me. All right, let me see if I can find the video I'm looking for. Oh, here's Barack Obama lying and using the very fine people comment, something we know to be completely debunked and taken out of context grossly, using it at a political rally recently. I used to like this guy. I voted for him twice. And I'm appalled by my actions when I hear him willfully say this stuff. Look at this. This is San Francisco. Do you like having to press a button to go buy fucking shampoo? All these companies are going to go away. You'll only be able to order stuff online. It's all going away because these will kill them. We know in Michigan that a Chinese national voted in the fucking election, and they're going to prosecute this person, but they're still going to count the vote. We live in a crazy time, people. Please look around you and find the fucking truth.
Look, in the state of Michigan, we know now, and this is not me making it up, I can't believe it hasn't received more coverage, a Chinese...
Yeah, she didn't deny it because it's true. It's true. It's 100% true. It's proven that she had facts that would free them, and she didn't release them because she didn't want to hurt her criminal prosecution record. She cared more about her job than doing the right thing and saving an innocent person's life.
National, registered to vote and voted. And now he's being charged for doing that. But guess what? His ballot's going to count. We know at least one non-citizen's ballot is going to count.
I've got so many positive things. I was going to save them for tomorrow, showing all the legal actions and things that have happened that are helping with our election integrity. It is so much better than it's ever been. So much better than it's ever been. We're catching people. They're getting sued. X is a great place for people to be able to report what's going on. There is no stealing this election. Even if they stole the election, we still have the judicial branch, and West Virginia is refusing to ratify the results and endorse the next president of the United States, which holds up the whole process. We would go to court, and the Supreme Court will rule on the side of what's right. So there is still hope right now. Even if they did cheat, I think it's going to make it super fucking hard. And then even if they shoot Trump for the third fucking time and they hit him and kill him, you still have J.D. Vance next in line, and then you have an army of people behind him. So it's going to be really hard for the deep state to win this one. It's going to be really hard.
Michigan, because they don't know which ballot is and they can't retrieve it. These are facts. Now, whether that's...
Yeah, and you know what? Since we don't have a blockchain, we do have this thing called paper ballots that are locked up and sealed up, and you can reference them at any time, and you could see the signatures that are on them, and you could even show IDs, pictures that you took to verify that the person was the person who was supposed to vote. You could do that right now just with paper ballots. But you're right. I think eventually, why wouldn't it be on Bitcoin? But that doesn't need to happen right now. What needs to happen right now are paper ballots where we know that Americans who voted that are alive and that they were the right people and that we don't have multiple votes for them, so that we can ensure that the will of the people is deciding how we're ruled. That's what we were based off of. That's what should be happening now.
Widespread or not, I hope not. But these are things that are happening and they need to be watched at. As far as foreign adversaries, sure. I mean, Iran wants to kill Donald Trump. Iran, this has been fully documented. They are trying to kill Donald Trump. You talk about violent rhetoric. He's the only candidate in this race. And not because I wish this on anybody else, who's had not one but two assassination attempts against his life.
Right.
So of course we're all concerned about it.
Right. In terms of the case you talked about in Michigan, we have tracked that. The Secretary of State of that state has actually brought charges, has made that public. That individual.
But they're still going to count the vote.
Actually
But the
be
vote's still gonna
deported.
count.
May
The
actually
vote's still
be
gonna count.
deported because there
What the
are
fuck?
laws in this country that punish people
are, but the
when
vote
they are
still counts.
illegal and they try to vote in federal elections.
They
That
are, but they're going to count the vote. He keeps saying this, and she's just ignoring it.
19-year-old
But the
is
vote
going to
still
face some
counts.
consequences.
He is, and he's going to, but his vote still counts.
He said it 5 times. Are you going to acknowledge it as a reporter? Isn't this your solemn oath and duty to try and get to the truth?
His vote will still be counted.
Understood.
That's all you get. Understood. Fascinating. Diddy, pedos for Harris. Isn't that fun? Sorry, this is a shitty morning recap. But not recap, I suppose. Market open. But that's all right. We're having fun. Fuck it. This is all people are going to talk about for 2 days, so why not be here? Mario Nawfal, name one achievement of Kamala's in the last 4 years. I'll save you on this one because it's 48 seconds. She did not have one. There are so many interesting things that have happened. It's just insanity. I don't think I can find her one. I can't find the one thing. Maybe I have it under another category. I apologize. Let's see how markets are doing. I will find it. This might take a second. All right, so Nvidia up, Tesla down. Tesla's down because of why? Elon Musk supports Donald Trump. So that's the reason for that. We'll see what happens with the rest of the market with really no data outside of some factory orders that come in at 10. How we do in the other countries, though? Let's see here. Manufacturing PMIs in India and Germany. So India was slightly better than expected. Consensus and forecast was 57.4. They got an actual of 57.5. What a beautiful number, being in the 57s. Just look at how much like India is. This is obviously new data, right? I can only go back 3 years, but just look at the growth even from the trough down here. Look at the trend to the upside. India is an easy winner in the new economy. They have lots of power. Germany, wow, this is interesting. So Germany actually ticked up. I mean, the thing that's not interesting here is how low it is. That part sucks. I don't even know. This might be missing. There should be more time frames here, actually, because I think the German data goes a lot further. I don't know why it's only going 3 years. Do I have to pay for a subscription now? Maybe. I don't know. I'll figure that out. But as you can see, it's been in the depths down here the entire time. Like, look at this. We haven't been in positive territory since June of 2022. So Germany is in a horrific place. Again, 50 under 50 is means that you're pulling back and not expanding. So that's contractionary. So you don't want that. And let's see here. So gross fixed income investment year over year in Mexico. I mean, is some of this down here all of a sudden because of this election and the fact that Trump might win and might pull a lot of manufacturing into the United States? I mean, I think so. We'll see if that's true. But that's a lot of the data that we're looking at right now. Let me jump back over here and see if I can find that. I know it's in here somewhere. Maybe it's under best election points. I don't know. Oh, this is great. This is a guy in Glendale, California, just giving a couple of letters for his name so that they can try and find him without, and then saying things like, that might be me, blah, 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 and not even basically saying it's himself and still getting allowed to vote. This is fucking insane. Watch this.
Hello. How we doing?
Can I get the first 3 letters of your last name?
The first 3 letters. She's asking for that. She's not even asking for his name or an ID because they can't do that. She's just asking for 3 letters. He could just literally say whatever he wanted to, and she would pull something up, and he could vote for that person. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, H.
Smith. SMI.
EN.
And the first 3 letters of your first name?
JOR. And maybe that may be correct.
Oh, and your house number?
She doesn't even care. It may be.
Avenues.
Can you confirm your year of birth?
It might be 1985, but it might not.
She's not even questioning this.
I'm gonna cancel your vote by mail ballot.
Is your birthday 1985?
It might be. I mean, yeah, but it might not be.
Well, what is your birthday?
It's 1985. I'm just saying it might not be. You can't verify it, but I'm just telling you it is.
Okay, are you? You're gonna sign an oath? You're okay with?
Yeah, I'm gonna sign it off.
That is 1985.
Yeah, it's my birthday.
Great.
I'm just saying it might not be.
I'm gonna cancel your vote by mail ballot.
You can't see my ID, right? You could just verify my ID, right?
I mean, I take your word for it. It's California.
Exactly. So it might be, it might not be. I'll sign my oath.
This is ridiculous because it is. It's ridiculous. And this is our country right now. This is what Democrats are trying to push towards. If you like this, where you could just literally take a sheet of other people's names. If you hacked information, if you bought one of these big lists and you had social security numbers, all these things, dates of birth, addresses, you could just go to different voting precincts or even submit this stuff online and just steal votes. So there is no, California will always be blue unless they're forced federally to have like paper ballots and some kind of audit trail. They'll always be blue.
I just want to ask a quick question, Susan. She asked him, she's a student. So
I get it. Yeah, I get it.
She asked him if his birthday was 1985, and he said it is.
It definitely
and he
is.
says it might not be.
But it might not be.
What does that mean? Yeah.
I don't know. Could you want to verify it?
Well,
It just shows the absurdity of this.
I'm just asking.
So you don't ask them if this is their date, you ask them the year.
Yes, I did. The year.
It's 1985.
It is. Okay. Then
Might not be, though.
That's fine. If you're saying it's 1985,
It's 1985. Just might not be. I mean,
well,
you can't really verify
It
it.
checks your signature. So.
Yeah.
Can you accept
Except
and sign?
this is definitely me, but it might not be. Here we go.
And nobody cares. They're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, no, it's all good. That totally works. That's just how things are now. Oh, let me see. Do I have it in here? I don't know the validity of this. Yeah, so again, for anybody who wants hope. So a couple things. Farzad wrote this big write-up about how he's going to vote for Trump, which I think is amazing because this guy was so far away from that. He's more liberal in nature. He just had a kid recently. But in the beginning, he very much did not want like Trump. He wanted RFK. Then he was upset with RFK because he went to Trump. And now he's voting for Trump, and it says a lot about how much that's happening. But he said if Trump wins the election by a large margin, it's a signal that the legacy media's influence is largely gone. I agree with that. And the hope piece here, David Sachs says, in 2016, Trump wins Iowa by 9.4. Or I'm sorry, this is just talking about corruption. 2020 wins Iowa by 8.2. 2024, Emerson shows Trump up by 9. There's no chance Trump loses Iowa. And so there's a pollster that tried to make it look that Trump was losing Iowa by 3 points. And by every comparable metric, there's no chance that's happening. If anything, it's actually grown stronger for Trump, not worse. And so it's just, again, a bunch of bullshit. I don't know. This has a ton of likes on it, so I assumed it would have been called out by now. It says, beyond disgraceful, the Pentagon fails to send absentee ballots to active military service members. I don't know what the number is. I did not read the article. I just tagged it and reposted it to see if it came back as a community note and then to report back on it. So I don't know what the impact is here. I'm trying to look through it. I don't know if I'll find it. But if this is real, that's fucking ridiculous. And I'm sure it'll come out. I'm not worried about it. Again, we've got a lot of documentation. Look at this. This is the line for Trump in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. It goes for about a mile. We will look at markets in a second, in about 4 minutes. Thank you for everybody who's here. Look at this. A mile. Look at this. Look at this. And that's not even near the gate. There is so much of this kind of stuff going on. It's insane. And this is the pollster from Iowa who said that Trump or Harris is winning by 3. You could just, the entire thing is horrific. You could tell she's lying the whole time. At Lancaster, they found 2,600 ballots, all done by the same exact hand, same pen, same penmanship, the same everything. So the Republican Party is fighting this, and we got a lot of things like that we're fighting. Again, Atlas Intel doing great. Look at this. George said, I just received some delicious news from Georgia. Kamala Harris is absolutely toast. One of the observers who watched over one of the illegal ballot collection sites in Atlanta told me he was at only a collected total of 16 ballots the entire day. So there's a bunch of people now that have been allowed to watch and make sure that these ones that aren't supposed to be legal, but where they have these ballot boxes, aren't getting shoved with illegal ballots. And they're monitoring all this activity, and they're finding that there's nobody there, and this is good. And again, there's a bunch of laws that have went into place. There were things that were happening in Pennsylvania where they extended the voting timeframes because of illegalities happening there. We got a lot of people paying attention right now. You got to remember Biden calling Trump supporters garbage probably didn't help. They murdered a squirrel recently. There's just a lot of really good political points and tailwinds behind the Republican Party right now. So this is George talking about breaking. Democrats just sued Erie County. This is on October 30th, Pennsylvania. Officials alleging that up to 20,000 mail-in ballots have not been delivered to voters who requested them, and 1,800 ballots are totally lost. Upon information and belief, as a result, vendors' failures and delays with the Postal Service, as many of the 19,308 approved mail-in ballots have not been delivered to voters in Erie County requesting such ballots, and other ballots were provided belatedly. Further, upon information and belief, the United States Postal Service has no record of having received 1,800 mail-in ballots from vendor, as in the process of trying to locate these ballots. At a minimum, then 1,800 voters' mail-in ballots have been lost and will not be delivered to the individual voters for use in the 2024 election. So look at this insanity that we're already seeing, but we're documenting all of it, and that's wonderful, and it makes it to where we're going to be okay. It says they're asking the court to issue an order directing the county to notify all affected voters and to give them the ability to cancel their mail-in voter status so they can vote on Election Day. They'll probably win this, by the way. I hope Democrats can finally realize the truth about mail-in voting and see why we advocate for Election Day voting, paper ballots, and voter ID. For the ones who want to see it. Some people don't want to see the truth. And this is great. There's more to this. Well, I'll cover more later, but it says Maine holds an official student mock-up election every 4 years. This year, more than 20,000 students voted, and Donald Trump won 51-42. That's a great sign. Not only have Maine students picked the eventual winner in every race going back to 2004, this is Trump's best result by far. In 2020, he lost to Biden by 8, and in 2016, he beat Hillary by 2 points. This time, he wins by 9. So I think that says a lot. There's a whole bunch more, guys, but we'll get back to market stuff. Let's see what they're doing on CNBC here. How much further are we down? Yeah, we've got to get back to their dialogue anyway. They were having a great conversation, and I interrupted it. So let's get back to it.
To Pennsylvania, if you get those people in the middle of the state, blue-collar jobs, middle-class people to turn out, right, then Trump wins. And it's very hard. It's very hard for pollsters to do that because it's new. It's not patterns that you've seen in the past.
Can I ask you about the Trump trade for a second?
Sure.
It goes back to the Musk comment that we were talking about earlier, this sort of temporary hardship idea with a sort of a glorious future on the other side of that. If you were actually playing that trade, that I thought actually was a very honest moment for Elon Musk to allow for, what does that actually mean in the marketplace? Meaning, if you really are going to slash and burn government, which, by the way, we may very well need to do, and given the bond market, it might help on the other side of that, too. Like, all of those things are true. But as an investment theory, as a theory of the case on an investment, if you were to take out millions of government employees basically at one shot, for example, or there was going to be...
God damn it. I hate Andrew Sorkin anyway, and you guys are asking really good questions. I was going to get to Sean Sleaze, but now I'm going to talk to Daniel first, because he's got an interesting take. So first off, let me read your Dan Ives one. Dan Ives, a major change in tariffs, harsher stance on China would significantly impact the supply chain in NVIDIA, Beijing, retaliatory, Apple, Tesla likely, and slow the pace of AI revolution. So here's the thing. None of that doesn't, I don't give, we can still tariff the shit out of China and be perfectly fine with our supply chain. The advanced chips are going to come from Taiwan, right? All of our advanced chips come from them. And almost all the other, like huge portions. I would love to have Dan Ives clarify what parts of the supply chain are going to be hurt dramatically that are going to cause issues with Tesla. I'd like to know, because I'm pretty sure Elon Musk and Donald Trump have already had that conversation, and Elon is very bullish about Tesla's future under the Trump presidency. So I'm going to have to disagree with Dan Ives here and say that, especially because of the mix of the way Tesla works, Tesla sells Teslas to Americans that with everything built in America. And they've been doing that for a long time. That's why they're eligible for these credits, right? So they're doing all the right stuff that will benefit them in the United States. They do have locations in China, but they source that separately, and that's not going to be impacted by any of this. So I don't think Dan Ives is right at all, Daniel. And then your second comment, Tech AI may have a Harris win as more bullish, Trump win as net negative for big tech. That's wrong too. So big tech actually did a lot better under Trump. Now, Trump has problems with big tech. He didn't like censorship. And so he's going to be very anti-censorship. And any big tech company that's going to be censoring people after the election is probably going to be in trouble. But if they simply don't do that, Trump doesn't have any hatred towards these companies. He just doesn't want censorship to be involved now or in the future, right? And they should open source their algorithms like Grok is doing. We should know, and like X has done, right? We should know how these things work and not just see black boxes where sometimes information doesn't get displayed that people don't want other people to see, and it just always has a left bias. So I would argue this. I would argue that big tech is probably going to do a lot better under Trump. Right now, M&A, the investing market, the venture capital markets, all this stuff, it's dead. It's all fucking dead. And we've seen the most retaliatory group from the government in ages going after everything, whether it's the FCC, the SEC, it doesn't matter what it is. They're hostile towards everything on the right and towards tech. They're going after everybody. They're going after Google for monopoly on search. That's insane. What's the fucking point? What's the point? Maybe you could have done that 10 years ago, man, 15. But why does it matter now? And literally getting replaced by all these different chat bots and AIs in the future if they're not the number one, right? So they're so in the competitive field right now because they're having to rebirth themselves. And they've been, I think, wrong on political censorship. And I think that'll slow them down too. If not necessarily by anything that Trump does, but just by people not using them anymore if they don't change. So I don't care about tech doesn't matter. And I'm not doing anything for the election. Are we buying or are we shorting? I'm invested for what happens after 2 days. I prefer signal over noise. Some people love noise, right? They want to know, they want to be in the thick of stuff that's happening. They want to buy options contracts that are 0 days. That's a great way to get fucked if you're an investor. If you want to lose a lot of money, bet on what happens over the next 2 days. If you don't care about that, like what happens in the next 2 days, and you know that Tesla's a great company that's going to change the world and that stands a really high chance of being successful at that, then you stay invested in that. If you know that Bitcoin will win no matter what in the end, then you stay invested in that. And so if you're invested in the right things and you have any kind of reasonable time horizon, I think you're going to be fine. So I'm not making any moves. I've got over $1 million in Tesla calls. I don't fucking care. I'm not going anywhere. I've given myself enough time to not care. So I hope other people are in that same boat. I hope they have plenty of time too. But yeah, that's me. And I don't play the short-term stuff. I don't give a shit. B21, Tom Lee was on CNBC earlier today. Awesome. We got to listen to him too.
Some kind of inflationary period for 2 or 3 years as we try to bring manufacturing back to the U.S. for certain types of products, and those products now cost more. What does that actually do to the stock market?
So look, it's a good question, and I think the reality of this is an evolution. You can't necessarily go in and skinny the government overnight. And if you understand the government policies and procedures, the budget process starts with OMB. Mm-hmm. OMB sends a budget to the House. The House takes the budget, Usually, they throw it in the trash can. If Mick Mulvaney's there, he calls for a vote. He always forces a vote. Then the process starts. And so the House works through a budget. Congress decides where they want to spend money and where they don't want to spend money. Once it gets through the House, it ends up going to the Senate. The problem we have here, and this is a fundamental problem, is that each and every one of those House members is running for re-election again starting Wednesday, because they have a 2-year cycle. Right. Yeah. So the idea that they're going to come in and they're going to start cutting massive amount of jobs, especially in their state or their district, who are voters for them, I think the possibility of that happening rounds up to zero.
Here's the thing, though. It's not a big deal. They're making it a bigger deal than it needs to be. Any jobs they cut, they're going to pay them for 2 years. They're going to pay them for 2 years. Elon already said that. So any jobs cut, if somebody went and got another job somewhere, they could either take 2 years off and just live, which is a blessing for anybody, or they could go back to work and they could really increase their wealth a lot and do a lot better than if they stayed in that job. So it's not really that big of a deal. It's a great transitionary time frame. So I think I can't see a lot of angry voters because they lost their job and get paid for 2 years and can literally figure out what they want to do with the rest of their life. It's going to be fine. And I think this is being misjudged by a lot of people.
What can you do with executive order?
It's a great deal.
What could be done?
What could be done with the executive order?
Yeah,
and it sets a precedent where future spending goes down. And when people know that future spending is coming down, even though they're still helping people today, but they've just eliminated the jobs, but allowed them to transition, and then we're not going to be paying for a bunch of illegal immigrants, and you start to look at the budget coming down and the interest on our debt coming down because people are buying bonds again because they think the country's going to be on a more sustainable path and that we're a lot better than the 360% debt to GDP that China has. So this is coming, in my opinion. There's good stuff coming, really good stuff coming for the bond market if Trump gets elected. And these guys are underselling it.
I think this is a pretty noble cause that we got here. I mean, it's a great.
Yeah, Mike Lauk is a smart guy. He says, I need to find a government job that's going to get cut. So you need to find a job, get paid, and then have it be cut, and then get paid for 2 years. And then you can go off. Then you can retire, invest your money in Bitcoin and Tesla. Boom, you're done, dude. You're done. That's a great plan. I endorse that.
It's great to do this. I also
as a high school dropout who lives who's in his basement right now. I don't live in my basement, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
To Andrew's question,
I need
Musk
more coffee.
recognized something when he laid this out. He said, "You know what? We're not going to just let him go. We'll give him 2 years severance." This is about reinventing the government, but not about hurting government employees.
If you don't do it quickly, you lose momentum, though.
Right.
Oh, I think if you're going to do,
you have to slash and burn. It doesn't work otherwise.
You can slash and burn, but you can slash and burn humanely. You can do so with large severance packages. I'm willing to pay for a severance package to reinvent government.
Yeah.
I think everybody should.
What's to stop a next administration from coming in and saying, okay, we don't like that. We're going to ramp it back up. We don't think you have the proper protection.
Because the economy will actually be doing good and people will vote for them again. It's called America.
It's because you slash this agency or this group or somewhere along the line. So you offer a 2-year severance package, and then they all get rehired.
This is another thing that we talk about all the time. What metrics are we using to measure the effectiveness of agencies? We do a really, really bad job on that. I think in addition to looking at what needs to be automated,
can't believe how much I love this guy.
How you measure government effectiveness. And measuring government effectiveness by amount of fines is really not a good way to do it.
Unfortunately, it's probably all in the eye of the beholder, right? And depending on the party that you're talking about, they have a very different view of what these agencies are.
We can use actual metrics like response time, again, life cycle. We can use metrics. We can quantify that it's better, but we just have to try. And who better to do that than the head of Cantor Fitzgerald and Elon Musk? And God, why the fuck did I just forget his? Ron Paul. Wow. Who better to do that, though?
They're doing or should be doing.
Go ahead.
Look, and I was going to say the other thing that Jay and I wrote about recently is, look, let's say we want to move all this manufacturing back to and we do. Let's say we do. The process to do that, the federal government can mandate it. The state and city and local governments have to issue the building permits.
Right.
And historically, we've seen the propensity for them wanting or able to do that to not be very high. You know, the process to go get a building permit, especially for a house, is really hard. Think of what it is for a manufacturing facility in your county. A lot of the places in America don't want manufacturing. Now, there's certain states that are going to want it, but these manufacturing facilities.
Man, the Rust Belt would take every fucking manufacturing job they could get. Tesla will do it, or I'm sorry, Texas will do it. You'll see there's plenty of places. There's plenty of places that will take it. And you know what? The illegal immigrants that are like good people, maybe they get grandfathered in after the border is closed for anybody who's left and who hasn't committed crimes and gotten kicked out, and who's okay not getting government funded and working on their own. Maybe they get to stick around and they can work in these plants and these manufacturing jobs that are created. There's plenty of places that will allow. And they'll benefit financially from them. And then other states will go, shit, we should do that too. We need money.
Facilities are,
believe me, it will happen.
Not going to be as easy to build. They're going to need energy. We know we're a power-starved country already.
It's a good thing we have a president who's trying to lower the price of energy by half while increasing production immensely. The other one isn't even talking about it.
Continuously drawing on the power grid day by day with our electric vehicles, with our data centers, and now we're going to put manufacturing in there. Something is going to break. You have to build the infrastructure to support everything you're trying to achieve.
And to Gary's point, and if you don't have permitting reform as part of this, you're not going to deal with housing.
Literally the entire Republican Party, whether it's Vivek, whether it's J.D. Vance, whether it's Trump, whether it's Robert F. Kennedy, whether it's Shanahan, whether it's Tulsi Gabbard, is all about deregulation and making smaller government. It's literally that this is our time. This is it.
You're not going to deal with energy. Those are two of the biggest drivers of the.
Imagine how much money we will make when Donald Trump is elected the president of the United States and tips aren't being taxed and Social Security isn't being taxed and corporations get to keep their tax breaks and they get more tax breaks for moving manufacturing back to the United States. And you've got this massive pro-growth policy while reducing the size of government and pulling down yields in the bond market because people trust the path that we're on again in the future.
The economy.
Can I ask you, just because it's in the headlines and you're in this world, we were talking.
No, I mean win. He's going to win.
Talking about manufacturing. We had a big conversation earlier this morning about Intel and what's going on there, government picking winners and losers. You're an IBM guy. Maybe you have a sense of how to think about what's happening at IBM, this article that suggested that maybe the government's going to have to.
Yeah, I don't bet on short-term things. I don't know if you know me, Barrocon, but I don't do that. I am betting with my portfolio where I have $1 million in long call options on Tesla and where I'm long on a lot of things, right? So I've kind of made my decisions already, but he's going to win. I have no doubt. I look at analytics and I look at numbers. I know a bunch of you guys are like love emotions, right? You like to vote or you like to invest, vote, whatever, based on emotions. You could get drawn in one direction or another given on the mood of the market for the day, but that is not me, man. I'm somebody of principle, and I'm somebody who invests for the long haul and tries to invest in things that better humanity. I don't take bets over a 24, 48-hour time frame, but I do have massive amounts of money that are levered because they're options that are betting yes on Donald Trump winning. And then I did do a bet for $500 with Chris Patel yesterday that Trump was going to win. I didn't want to. He brought it up, but I'll take his $500. So yes, I am betting that Trump wins this election, but I'm not a gambler. If you guys want gambling, man, fucking go somewhere else. That's not this place. So you could go somewhere else. You don't need to be here.
To give even more support to Intel.
You said IBM.
No, I said he's an IBM guy.
Yeah.
So he lives in this universe and is very aware of these issues. Just how you think about this morning.
It's not my bet, chicken bro. It was his.
Well, I think we need to think about it as citizens of the country. I think this is a universal issue. If we learn nothing else in COVID, we learned that we have a supply chain that when it shuts down,
it's broken.
Certain vital components of that supply chain.
And then China can hold it all up, and we're beholden to them, and that's not a good position to be in.
Really shut down the entire country. We learned that chips are probably one of the most important things in there. Not only for our everyday living, because we've now decided that everything we own has to have a chip in it, from a toaster on up. You can't have a toaster that doesn't have a chip in it, to our industrial complex, to our military. You know, you launch a smart missile, it's got 300 plus chips in it. So we know there's a vulnerability to the chip market. We know that we're dependent upon foreign countries to import chips. I actually do not like the government getting involved in industrial policy. I actually supported the CHIPS Act because we cannot be in a position
I agree with that.
We are dependent on other countries to send us chips so we can defend ourselves.
I think the CHIPS Act has to stay. Like, that's a requirement. I don't think Trump would do away with that at all.
So we can supply products to our citizens.
Is it your brilliant idea to give it to Intel?
No, I have nothing
That's
to do
fair.
with this. It's the Commerce Department, and it's this Commerce Department.
Can I ask you?
But the whole idea,
Yeah, that's a really good point, though, that Joe just made, and that Gary Cohen's kind of making, too, is that the CHIPS Act is great. In execution, though, it hasn't been, right? Because they're giving the money to losers like the DEI group of Intel, right? So, like, and these guys just fail miserably all the time, promise and never deliver, and they just get worse and worse and worse and worse. So it's like this government, even though they have the right intentions in this regard, in regard to the CHIPS Act, in regard to sourcing, I think the intention is right on them. Execution sucks because they suck. They're not business people. They're bureaucrats. And so you get garbage output. Nothing's quantifiable. It's all gray. Nothing is black and white in a Democrat's world, it seems like. It's just shades of gray. And if you have shades of gray, you never really know the merit of anything. And if you don't know the merit of anything, you don't know what to invest in and where to put the money or how to make it fair in order for the free market to be able to compete against it, right? Like, that's what should happen, but they don't execute. So Trump will execute.
The whole idea was to create public-private partnerships.
Yeah, we're going to listen to Tom Lee right after these guys.
Which to me is the right thing to do. The government was handing out, they weren't small checks. They were $5, $6, $7, $8 billion checks, but they were $5, $6, $7, $8 billion checks to.
Yeah, you don't, Robert. That's great. Intel is an American company. I'm assuming you meant company, and we don't have a lot of American companies. Sure. But then maybe it doesn't need to be an American company, but it needs to be one that's going to execute. And you give the contracts based on merit. Can the company produce? Will they build it here? Will they put the locations here? I don't give a fuck if they're already here. If they suck at what they do, fuck them. Fuck them. They get no contract. That's how meritocracy works, man. That's how free markets work. The best get the bids. Not it's because your friend's Bob said that his dad can do it. You don't do that shit. You give it to the people who can execute for the American people. And if that's SMCI, you give it to them. You give incentives for people to produce here, and you make sure that you give the money to the people who execute. And if Intel can't execute, take it all away from them and let them fucking die so somebody can take them over.
To stimulate the production of chip foundries that cost $30 or $40 billion. It still meant that the private side of industry was going to have to put in sort of 70 to 80% of the money to get these foundries
Do you think
built.
they picked the wrong company? I mean, Intel, by the way, just kicked out of the Dow. That was sort of how this conversation began, and trying to understand whether there should have been another company that was picked as the sort of main winner of this.
Intel is an American chip manufacturer.
Right. We don't have many others.
We don't have a lot.
Let me make a point here that's a great advantage America has had for 50, 60, 70 years. We've taken a lot of people from the private sector and put them into government.
Right.
This idea that you shouldn't have private sector people in the government is totally belied by this issue. If you're going to allocate that capital correctly, not everybody has to be from the private sector, but you better have some people that understand what Gary just said in order to make sure that those issues are thought through as you allocate
They
capital.
say we need to go, but so this is just a rhetorical question. You think you can? You think you can humanely?
Does that mean we have to answer?
Don't answer it. It's rhetorical.
You don't have to. You think you can humanely send 10 million people back to where they came from if they're here illegally?
Oh, that's
we
such
were
a huge
talking about this
question.
earlier. The answer to that is an incredibly difficult
And
challenge.
how much does that cost, and what does it do to the labor market?
But then why did you let him in the first place?
But you know what, though? Again, that's fixable by stop paying them, close the border, and then push manufacturing jobs here. And if people commit illegal crimes, get them the fuck out. That's all you have to do. That's all he has to do. That's it. So it's actually not as hard as it's made out to be.
I know.
If
you
know,
could stop letting. You could try to stop from here, but what do you do with the people who are?
The question we had is how many of them are actually working now?
Probably a lot of them.
I don't know. We don't. Do we know?
We don't know. We have no idea.
No. I mean, the people who advocate for it say they're working.
New York City has like 70,000 homeless illegal immigrants that are not working and that are just getting money from the government. So if that's any indication and spread out over every city in the United States, I mean, some of them are probably employed, but we literally don't know. We literally don't know. So the ones that can't get jobs and that commit crimes to survive, they'll have to go.
Do we know?
It was rhetorical, so.
Well,
I asked one.
Sounds like the answer.
Yeah, we'd like to know the answer.
And if they're working, that will impact the answer.
That will impact the answer.
Yeah, totally agree.
Thanks to, it says here, thanks to Gary and Jay.
Thanks, guys. Coming up.
Yeah, crime could go up too, and then the people that commit the crime you get rid of. And again, it's pretty easy to spot the gang members versus like the decent people that are there with their children. You know what I mean? There's ways to be very civil and make all this happen. Let's jump real quickly to Tom Lee, though, since he's a popular guy, and we like him very much. Let's take a look and see what he has to say.
Following last week's inflation and jobs data, it's an interesting time to get some perspective from our next guest, Tom Lee. It says be prepared for volatility. Tom is managing partner and head of research at Fundstrat Global Advisors, as well as a CNBC contributor. Would you say, towards the last time you were on, you talked about the Trump trade being pretty strong. A lot of things turned back, reversed. DJT reversed. Bitcoin didn't hold.
This will be interesting.
Didn't move into the mid-70s, got into the low 70s. I don't know whether the banks and other Trump trades changed, and all the betting markets certainly moderated late last week, came back a little bit. Do you have a change in your opinion on the election now?
Well, it does seem like over the last 4 or 5 days, the election really narrowed when you look at betting markets or the polls. And I know a lot of people don't necessarily trust polls, but I think the quality and the adjustments to the polls have made them more accurate. So I think it is really a toss-up, and it's going to be a very close election. And something.
Just remember, it's over 7% better for Donald Trump this election than 2020, which is also better than when he won in 2016. So it might show a toss-up, but with the bias being what it is, we know that means he's in the lead. We know this because of historical data that tells us that.
I think our clients are preparing for it, because we did a survey last week. 76% don't think we'll have a winner declared election night. And 40.
Imagine what happens if that actually ends up happening. Not that it will. Pennsylvania is going to have to be done in time, and I don't know. I don't know if that's possible. But imagine if the election's over really quickly.
3% roughly expected 1 week after. So I think markets are kind of bracing for this period of uncertainty. I think that's why many of the trades have reversed.
I agree.
We've also heard about some of the trading houses that are not going to be putting any software updates in this week. Even some people who want to be here rather than overseas to make sure they're closer on the ground to see what happens too.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be a week where there's going to be a lot of worry.
Yeah, I agree.
One thing I was thinking about over the weekend, though, is I think the market's fear of uncertainty will peak before. It's very likely it peaks before the election outcome's actually decided.
Agreed with that,
These signals that we've been looking at, one of the things, I don't know if you read about it, and I think we talked about it maybe during commercial break last week, one of the things that's happened in the polls is the view that there's a lot more women going to vote than before. But that these signals, whether it be Bitcoin or whether it be DJT stock or whether it be the betting markets, may also all be off, if this is true, on the assumption that actually there is a very small percentage of the people in the betting markets who are women, for example. There's a very small percentage of people who are.
Boy, they're really grasping at straws. because the actual polling data shows they're down by like over 7.5% versus last election, and that Trump is winning every swing state. And so now, since the polls, which we have historical data, we can see how biased they are, we can see how wrong they are throughout history, from election to election to election, figure out which pollsters are more accurate, try and quantify the odds of victory. And we can use not just anecdotal data, but again, just the sheer number of extra people that have voted on the Republican side. In like the state of Pennsylvania, a 600,000 increase in that delta for voters that are Republican. We can see all this quantifiable data, and yet we're going to jump to the betting markets and then try and throw out some pitch that it's actually more, it's even more wrong because there's not enough women in there that understand that Kamala is going to win. That's the thesis we're on now. Pretty desperate. It's a little bit beyond P. Diddy, but it's pretty funny.
For women who actually trade in Bitcoin, not who own Bitcoin, but who trade in Bitcoin. Very small group of women who are trading in DJT stock.
I'll say
it. What do you think of that?
I think there's some credence to that, just because we know, like, when you look at the Iowa polls, it was really the senior women voters that changed a lot. And you're right, these markets can be narrow.
Come on, buddy.
And they're very responsive to...
See, here's the problem with Tom Lee, and I love him. He's like one of my favorite people on earth. But he spends too much time with liberals. And let me see if I can I don't even know if I'll be able to find the video. I'll probably let him continue to talk here while I try and look for it.
Just changes in liquidity, and I think it's a very tight race. I mean, it's going to be very close. I think
I can't find it. It's actually over here. So let me look real quickly. I don't even know how I can find. I'll pull it off the screen. I'll let this play out, and I'll see if I can find Iowa. Because there's another poll that literally came a day later after the 3 saying that there's like a 10-point lead for Trump. So this is just like him not being around enough people that know what's really happening.
Anyone who thinks that they know who's going to win is really playing with fate, because I think it's a very tight race.
Yeah.
It's interesting from when polls close, too. Because
Bell in 1 minute.
I mean, there's a couple here. Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia are all East Coast. So, you know,
I'm not going to interrupt Tom Lee.
Definitive answers.
I'll redo the bell.
You know, supposedly Virginia and New Hampshire are closer than people in the Harris camp would like. So there could be surprises early on.
Just wonder how long it takes when you have so many more people who have voted early or mail-in votes too. Those take longer to tally. So I mean, you might just by default be
like last time.
Yeah. I actually voted last week, and I actually had to wait. There were a lot of people. I mean, turnout is really what's going to swing this election.
And then there's a number of states, obviously, that, by the way, get the early votes and then don't begin to tally them afterwards. And for all sorts of reasons that I would raise some real questions about why they're not tallying them.
It's kind of a bummer when we see it.
Sometimes it's written into state legislation.
No, I understand.
Hey guys, I want to show, and they're right, it is a bummer that we're so shit at trying to count votes because we don't want the rightful people to win. That does suck. But 2024 Iowa, so even what Tom Lee was saying here, he's referencing the Des Moines Register, which shows Harris winning by 3 points. But then a couple days later, we had Emerson come out with 10 for Trump being up. And all the historical, everything you look at, even if you look at demographic of sex, if you look at age, these are people that are voting for Trump. So this is a psyop trying to make it look like all of a sudden Kamala Harris is taking Iowa and that we've got to worry about a state being lost here. It is absolute bullshit from a pollster that cannot be trusted if you look back at historical information. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Bell's ringing probably now. Let me just, I'll play that real quick just so we can see the bell ring. 1 second. And then we'll go back to Tom. Ding, 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 ding.
It's not really a poach.
What
Companies
about
are worried?
Concern about NVIDIA at all?
No,
Yes.
NVIDIA,
in the
coffee.
sense that NVIDIA, where are their chips? Supermicro, will people buy their chips? The answer is yes. But the problem with Supermicro, David, maybe delisting, then because they have no auditor, and then if you're, let's say you're buying that, a customer, I think it's
ding, 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 ding.
Push it down. That's all. I feel badly for.
All right, so we'll leave that running here. We'll go over real fast here and see what we're doing on the daily. Let me know if you guys see anything major happening today. Honestly, I think we did a lot of our dropping last week. Well, outside of Tesla. Again, Elon has to worry about people trying to imprison him after the election if Kamala Harris wins. So we'll see what happens. DJT is surging. I think that's because the faith that people have that are MAGA people, they believe very strongly that Trump is going to win. And I think that they're probably right. Let's look real quickly here. See how Bitcoin's doing. Let's just look at all of it. Bitcoin still looks great, guys. If we just look at this chart over here, we might be underneath and consolidating. This is a big wick, but I think it's just impulse and signal for going higher. But we might be underneath this and consolidating, but this is still very much like a bull flag, even though it had, I hate it when this happens. Even though we had this strong wick up in this impulse, I think that we're still just doing a consolidation before a major event, which is this election, and that will decide the next move. I do think that, like I said over the weekend, I think we can crash down to the 52,000 range or even 51,000 range if Kamala won over the short term. But I think that would very rapidly bounce in the months ahead and set new all-time highs, because it's just inevitable that Bitcoin is going to be needed no matter who wins. Especially in the years ahead, especially this cycle. So it's not going away anytime as far as a need, as long as government spending is more and more every year, which is not going to magically stop under Trump or Kamala Harris. So it's just the efficiency of government that can change. But I still think that we're consolidating here and that we're eventually going to go a lot higher for Bitcoin. Let's look at Tesla and see where it's sitting from a support resistance zone. So he's dropped a little bit further, but that's still okay. We could still hit peak volumes here in the 235 range and still very much have this kind of double left shoulder or W, and then the head, the inverse head, and then another W kind of over here forming as we get ready to break out higher. And who knows, again, if Kamala won by some freakish thing, by stealing it or whatever, we could see Bitcoin trace back down to the 200s, the 185 range. I'm sorry, Tesla trace down anywhere from like the 200 to 185 range over here. If for some reason Kamala was able to win or steal it, I think that was happening. PayPal being a little beast. Well, let's look at the rest here. Let's pull up the watch list and see how we're doing. Let's sort by percentages here. Is PayPal up a lot? If it is, I might have to sell more. Oh, fuck. I might have to. I don't have them. We'll see. We'll see. But I like that it's up. I like NVIDIA's up still. BABA's up. MU's up. TMF, the 20-year is up. I think, if anything, and that's because they're becoming optimistic that Trump's going to win. What's losing today? What's the big losers today? Let's see here. Miners, again. Oh, God, I might have to buy some miners, guys. They're just so cheap. Let's just look at iron here. Let's look at a few of these. Let's see. How is MSTR? Is MSTR up today? MSTX is down. So MSTU is still doing really good. Awesome. Disease Kodak, what's up, buddy? So MSTR is doing all right. MSTR is actually a little bit up on the day, so that one is showing lots of strength. Not surprised. It's usually the leader. Let's look at Mara, the biggest miner. Down 2.61. It's fair and better. Clean Spark down a little over 2%. And then Cypher and these smaller miners probably getting butchered. 1.24. That's not bad. Let's look at Iron and then Clean Spark too. These are all, I think miners are nearing the bottom. I think they're nearing the bottom. Could we go lower? Yes. Yeah, I don't care though. I think it's all near the bottom. It's just so oversold. Bitfarm's down 4.3%. Again, kind of grinding down here in what looks like is going to be a breakout pattern to the upside and very quickly going to $4, in my opinion. And let's look at Iron real quick too. Yeah, I'm pretty hopeful, guys. I'm pretty hopeful. And I don't think it's just my bias, because I quantify my bias pretty good. I'm not delusional. I know I like Donald Trump and want him to win. I know I like Elon Musk and want him to win. But I also try and... Again, when Trump had his first debate against Kamala Harris, who did I say won? I said Kamala Harris. Some people said, oh, it seems like she got all the questions. I said it does seem suspect, but we're not sure. I mean, she did get all the questions, and she did. This person was her She went to the same sorority, the one lady that was interviewing or whatever. They went, and then all the questions, they only fact-checked Trump. Like, it was super biased. But I still told you who won, right? I'm still honest with myself and with you guys. I don't fuck around with that stuff. So, again, I think it's one of those things where we know who the winner is, and it's going to be Donald Trump. When do you think we'll actually see the election? I think it could come by Wednesday morning or Wednesday. I think it's going to be that clear. I think it's going to be too hard to rig. That's me. We'll see if I'm wrong. The cheating could be more rampant than I'm giving the Democrats credit for. But I think it'll be quantifiable, and I think it will be measurable, and I think it'll go to the Supreme Court, and I think we'll eventually end up having to tighten and maybe redo the election and do paper ballots and do it the right way. And I think if we're forced to do that, which I think the Supreme Court would uphold, I think that we would see election results that are a lot better, because we'd force the House and the Senate to have to work together in the presidency to try and come up with some clarity on what would make election integrity. And we already know what the blueprint looks like. So if anybody wants to take control, that'll have to happen. And we'll make sure it's accountable and that it does happen this time. Disease Kodak voted for the first time. Yes, brother. Good for you. Good for you. Tesla down. Shocker. Not surprised. 4%. Shit, I might have to sell some PayPal. Fuck, I didn't want to do that yet. Fuck, I'm probably going to. Let me go over here real quick. I don't want to buy more Tesla. But if you guys are going to make me do it, I might nibble. I might nibble on some. Let's see, how's the rest of the watch list doing here? Let me go back. I'll just do it here. Excuse me. I'm not going to be well slept over the days ahead. Riot down 6.5%. Bitfarms down 5%. CleanSpark down. Oh, Tesla looks the most yummy. I really thought I've only got $1,200 in cash, so I'll need to sell some stuff. But PayPal's up what? PayPal is up. Is it still up 1% or more? No, a little bit less. What do the calls look like? Are they reasonable? I'm still up 70% on my 2026 calls. Let me see here. 762. 8. What are they selling at? Nah, I don't want to sell PayPal either. It's not high enough. It's getting beat up today too because people are just going risk off, so they're jumping out of options all over the place. FR is soaring. What is FR? Sorry. I can't wait for BTC to pump like crazy. It's time to make some money. Yes, sir. Buy CleanSpark under $10. Yeah, it's a great price. I don't have any opportunity to buy because I don't want to sell my PayPal here. Unless something else comes up today while these other things are falling, I'm not going to make a move. I'm just going to sit back and watch. So I might have something. I should look at all my accounts and see if there's any other moves I can make. There might be some. But otherwise, I'm just going to leave it alone. What's the thesis behind PayPal? I've got options that can give me just a wicked multiplier to its upside. So it could go up like 50%, and I could make 7x that. So I could make 350 to 500% if it goes up, like if it doubles. If it goes between 50 and 100%, I could make 800%. That's the thesis. And it's a good company. It's under new ownership, which helps a lot, Henry. If you look at Alex Chris, he ran Intuit for a long time. And if you look at Intuit's stock, it's beautiful. So I'll just show it real quick. I wonder if I have Intuit in the Discord. I should add it if I don't. How do I find? I gotta actually add it because I don't remember the ticker and I must not have it in there. So let me just do this. Intuit. I don't remember the ticker off the top of my head, but I'll find it right now and then I can rename this later. All right, Intuit. INTU makes sense. So I probably have one of those, but I'll save it for now. So if you look at Intuit as a company over the years, if you look at weekly, it's kind of a little deceiving because we had a downturn. But if you zoom out look it into it over the time that Alex Chris worked there, which is like from here to here. It was a great company to be invested in, and he was like head of tech or something. So they brought it from $20 up to $716. And so he's really, in his short time at PayPal, he's closed down silos. He's syncing up Venmo and PayPal applications. He's making things more efficient. Still has work to do on mobile. I don't like it still. But he's pulling in advertising revenue. They're working on PayPal USD as a stable coin, which I think is brilliant. They're working on high margin parts of the business. Their CFO is brilliant. So I think it's a really great opportunity for it to go to 50 to 100% and me to make 350 to 700% or more. So that's the thesis on PayPal. And again, Intuit was a great company, and he made you a lot of money if you were at Intuit. 35x is a lot of money for a company. You're welcome. Not a problem, Henry. Alex Garcia, saving the cash I have for potential big drop after the election. I think it comes before. I think the drop's happening now, but maybe. I don't know. I'm in. I don't change off of like short-dated things like this. If I thought Kamala, I shouldn't say that. If I thought Kamala really was going to win or stood a high probability chance, I might position myself differently and have more hedges. But I think her ability to do that is greatly diminished. And even if she did do it, she won't have the Senate. And even if she did get that, there's still hope 2 years from now that we can still overthrow her because she's done such a horrible job with the economy and with global affairs. And I think that's almost guaranteed because she's a puppet and just a complete idiot. So I got to find this real quick. I got to find Kamala. Let's see, Kamala Prop, California. Let me see if I can find this media. I got to show you. Yeah, right here. So listen to her. So before the election, she's so proud of her. She's so proud of her history and her record, guys, that before the election, she doesn't want you to know whether or not she voted to keep things the same in California for fentanyl trafficking and all this other stuff. They wanted to crack down on this stuff, crack down on open air drug markets, crack down on fentanyl coming into their state. Just all the good stuff that you would normally want to do, but is the opposite, and what basically she railed against during her time as the Attorney General. And she doesn't want you to know how she voted 48 hours before the election. Does that seem fair? You know how she voted. She voted for more of the same, but she thinks that'll hurt votes. So she doesn't want people to know the truth of how she voted. That's this woman.
So my ballot is on its way to California, and I'm going to trust the system that it will arrive there. And I am not going to talk about the vote on that because honestly, it's the Sunday before the election, and I don't intend to create an endorsement one way or another around it. So
it's not an endorsement. It's the truth about your fucking vote. It's the truth about your vote. How is that not something you're willing to do? And how is that something that people are willing to have as an acceptable answer? If somebody could please tell me, I would love to hear it. Why is that acceptable? Lance said, woke up and saw all the betting markets showing almost 50 to 50 today. Feel like it's also a cheap way to hedge. It's a cheap way to hedge. And I also think that Kamala Harris's campaign, which has 3-to-1 the contribution rate, not because she's going to win, but because big money is behind her, is paying for the betting markets to make them look more even, to increase her odds. Because the one thing they can't fix is the polling markets that show that they're broken and that they're losing, and that they're losing by over 7.5 points versus what they were in 2020 by a margin that guarantees their loss in a fair election. So it's one of the only things they can do is fuck with the betting markets. And that's one of the only talking points that we have. I should let Tom Lee finish talking, though, for the next 2 minutes.
Understand that, but sorry. There's a view among those who are cynical about that they're not counting them until after, right. So that. And there are people, we've seen it.
Except for what if there's other countries that know by the end of the day. There's other countries that know that night, and they've been talking to, we're like a little bit envious looking around.
Yeah, you should be able to count.
Here's the problem. If they were counting them early and it was some secret, because you wouldn't want them releasing what the vote count was early, what if it got out? I mean, that's the problem with starting.
But how do all these other countries count paper ballots the same day and get the election results before people go to bed? How did we do that for hundreds of years?
The count early.
Stupid fucking
I
question.
had not heard that as the explanation for
No,
it.
I'm just
and it's
raising the
only
question.
red
But
states
Andrew
that have
Zorkin
done
will take
this.
anything
So
he can.
There's you can think whatever you want to think about that.
So
what do you think the
other than this, yeah.
Exactly,
other than this,
Henry.
Other than the election, because the elections, that's sort of what you hear about Wall Street. Elections don't really matter anyway. So if it is gridlock, which we don't know, but more likely, I think the odds are on that too. So you're still bullish.
All right, good. They're getting back to him.
Yeah, I'm bullish only in the sense that election uncertainty has caused people to de-risk and cash to sit on the sidelines, but the fundamentals have been good. Earnings season's been very good. The Fed is dovish, and I don't think it's going to matter who ends up in the White House, even if it's split Congress or a sweep. I think markets do pretty well either way. So
I 100% agree with that because Kamala, he won't say this, but he feels the same way. Because Kamala Harris will not win the Senate and she won't have overwhelming control. She can cause damage to the United States, but she's going to also be heavily accountable for anything that would happen. So I think markets, it's pretty much more the same. There'll be a gut punch initially where I think Republicans and conservatives that have a lot of money are scared to death by what's coming. But I do think that markets would rebound and would do well under her presidency because we still have global liquidity expansion and she wouldn't be able to do much. And we need to spend a bunch of money just to survive. If nothing else, the Treasury market has to do their part along with the Fed. So things just keep getting better and better and better as far as more liquidity, which will drive up markets. So I 100% agree with that. But what it does to America over the next 2 to 4 years is another story.
it sets up for a really good rally into year end, but when it starts in November is just what we don't know.
No. So when you look at,
right.
we were talking about what Buffett's thinking with Apple or what he's thinking with bank. I mean, you take Apple and a leading financial.
And to be clear, everybody talks about Buffett because he's got like $325 billion or some fucking crazy number sitting on the side. Buffett is hedging. He is very anti-risk, and he's very okay with not making money for a long period of time to be the guy who said, I bought the dip and I got this company for nothing. Because that approach, when you have that amount of capital, that massive amount of capital, $1/3 trillion fucking dollars, he can buy industries during a down market. So he doesn't care if it's down in a year, down in 2 years, down in 3 years, or down in 5. He'll still be ready to play ball, right? And he'll be able to just sweep up everything. We don't all have that opportunity, right? Like, not in the way that he has that opportunity, when you can literally acquire entire companies or an industry and make some things go away, like literally be able to control an industry. That's a lot more of a power position and a lot more financially lucrative than you and I investing in Bitcoin or in regular markets for the most part. So again, he's a long time horizon person. He's thinking about this over a very, very long time, and he wants to be the guy who could say again that I bought the dip. And he's been gathering cash, guys, since the pandemic and before it. But how have markets done? It has not worked out well for him. So it all depends on what your time horizon is, or if you're a retired multi-billionaire like Warren Buffett, who's got a lot more time, okay? It just all depends on which one you are. I'm the guy who wants to live better now in the next several years and thinks that he can manage that really well. Warren Buffett does not fucking care, and he's in his 90s, okay?
And that covers a pretty big range of the markets. And Andrew thinks he's building an arc. Could you really? It wouldn't work. There's too many species to bring on there with him.
I think Warren Buffett will be right in the end if we have a really bad market rout, which could happen. It will happen if we don't have Trump as the president. I think it's almost guaranteed that we'll have some kind of major economic event that's really, really bad. And he'll be right. But again, it's not going to happen right away. But he doesn't care if he'll be right in 3 years. It's okay. But if we get Trump and we get Elon Musk and we get AI and we get robotics and we get cheap energy and we just push forward and we deregulate, then the world, I don't think we ever get the downturn that Warren Buffett is looking for, and he will lose out. And the funny thing is, one of the things that he always says is don't bet against America, but I feel like right now in a way he is, but I think it's more of like a conservative old guy hedge.
I'm just saying he's building a cash ark. An ark out of cash or something. Or is that what he's doing? He may be doing something else. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I know part of it is he's anticipating capital gains taxes could change, so he's taking those gains now. But
yeah, that makes sense too.
And he's not necessarily having a big cost of money because he's earning 5%. But next year, the cost of money is going to drop, so he'll have some pressure to deploy it.
He will. Yep. Very good point. Very good point. I'm glad we got the last part of that. He will have pressure to deploy it starting next year. No matter what condition we're in, he'll have to start putting some money to work. Boy, wouldn't it be awesome if that was Tesla? That's what he should do. I don't know if he's smart enough to. But if they start to have that service-based ecosystem that got him so interested in Apple, and they've got those steady revenues climbing and climbing and climbing, maybe that's where he's forced to deploy capital to, amongst others. I could see it happening. I really could. Let me see what we got on the live screen here. So I've been going almost 2 hours. I'll probably go a little bit longer here. If you guys have any stocks you want to look at, throw them out. I'm probably going to call it in a little bit, though. And again, no market recap today. I just don't care to do it. And I'm going to spend some time with my daughter. And then tomorrow I've got the election, so I'm not going to do it then either. I just don't see much of a point. I think we get a lot more done in the mornings anyways. Plus, we have more data points, and then you're ready for the day. So that's my priority right now, at least until after the election and some of this craziness dies down. All right, let's see. If we don't have any requests, you're doing a live stream during election night? Yeah, I'll probably all night, Paul. Probably all night. I'll probably start at like 6 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe 5. Probably 6, and then I'm gonna go until it's over. So, if that means Wednesday morning, if that means Wednesday afternoon, I don't know. I might quit after a while. I just need to sleep. We'll see. My spirit could be greater than my actual body can function. I don't know. Ionic. Well, Neo, you're gonna learn what I think of Ionic. Let's take a look here. We'll start with the financials of Ionic, the quantum computing company that is almost a quantum computer, but not quite because nobody's developed one yet. And we'll look at their revenues, which are just horrific, burning $37 million, a little over $37 million in one quarter where they made 11. Free cash flow of negative $35 million. They've got bonds. I don't know what their duration risk is with them because I don't know what time frame they are, but they've got $328 million. It's probably one of the only ways their balance sheet doesn't actually look worse. They're diluting stock like crazy, which means you're going to lose money over time just from the dilution. They show 2 more quarters of sideways to down action, which is the worst than they've done in their history. And then supposedly in Q1 of 2025, which maybe just wait for that, they're going to start making $16 million in revenue, but still probably burning 40 or 30. So I think this is a shitty company from the financials alone. And I know there's people that want to believe in this, and I know there's people that fundamentally might have more to say about it. Let me see. Did anybody ever add anything in the Discord? Let me look here real quick and see if anybody ever put, I thought I put Ionic in here. Let me see if I did. If I didn't, I should. I didn't. I'm going to put one in here. Let's pull up the chart. Because if anybody actually has a good reason to buy Ionic outside of, oh, dude, they did some really cool thing and there's this write-up that says how cool this thing is. If you have actual, like, oh, hey, they're getting this massive contract and they're going to make so much money. Oh, you know what? I might actually, do I have this ticker? I don't know. We'll put another one just to be safe. I can figure it out later. You know what? I should look. I'm going to look real quick because I don't want to create a duplicate if I don't need to. So let's go back here and load. I do have one. So this one is what? That's the monthly. I'm going to get rid of that one. All right, so let's go to this one. Let me go back in there again. Yeah, I just don't want to make a mess with dupes. Laziness will make that happen. We don't want that. All right, so Ionic down 4.51%. Again, great way to lose money right here. I'm going to go ahead and take this chart, though. I'm going to share it. I'm going to copy it over. I'm going to put it in the Discord. And that way, if you guys have any real good reason why I should be talking about this stock again, you can tell me in Discord. Otherwise, I don't really care, right? Because it just looks financially like a shitty company. Ionic. So if you guys have a reason why I'm wrong, please let me know. You've got the Discord in front of you, so tell me. Tell me I'm a dumbass and tell me why. Otherwise, I don't care. And I'm not going to look at it further. I guess if you've got money in it, you'll probably keep losing it till at least $13. And you could lose it down to $11.50 maybe, or even 11. I mean, that wouldn't be crazy because it's not a real company. So you could lose it down to 9. I mean, hell, if we're being honest, you could lose it down to 5 or 6. Okay? And even more until they turn into a real company. All right. Now that I've thoroughly shit on your stock, Neo, let me know if you still appreciate my feedback. You said thank you. That's amazing. All right. You're welcome. Yeah, it's going to be a marathon, Cam. I'm here for freedom, so I'm willing to work for it. Lucid. I love to shit on this one too. That's fun. Let's do it. You guys give me all the trash today. I love it. All right, Lucid Group. So this is known as Saudi Aramco now. And their total vehicle production is just shit. Their revenue is lower than it was on Q3 of 2022. Their net income, they lost $643 million in a quarter that they made $200 million in revenue. Their free cash flow is negative $0.5 billion. Oh, I'm sorry, negative $750 million in one quarter. This is probably one of the worst companies you could even own, and it's not even worth shorting because everybody else already had that idea. So if you like losing money, I think it's a really great opportunity. Like you could do it effectively. AMG 77. Exciting, right? I know you're loving that. Let's look at Wolf. Somebody asked about Wolf. All for you. I don't know if I love this company, but it's a minor, so it doesn't really matter. And I'm sure there's plenty of cheerleaders for it. It's pushing up pretty good against the 200 moving average, actually. I'd say it's got stronger price action than like a Clean Spark or a Mara or some of these others. So it's springier. I could see if, what is this, 2.26 billion? I could see a move up to 1277 in a short period of time. If we go to 92,000 because of a Trump win, like I think we could, then I could see this going up into the 12s and 13 range in a short period of time. Riot, will it recover? Yeah, all the miners will. You just have to realize, guys, they're still down a lot from the last cycle. From the last cycle, when we look at November 2021 over here, Wolf, and there's tons of dilution, so we'll ignore that part. But even so, it doesn't matter. It's only a $2.3 billion company. We're down 86% from the last cycle. So it hasn't really went anywhere. And Riot isn't my favorite miner, but man, it's in the same boat as all these. It's just been butchered. It just is what it is, right? But the spring on Riot, I would say, is pretty aggressive. And once it breaks like the 14, it's very quickly going to launch to the 22 range. And it's roughly the same market cap as Wolf. But I could see this thing going, if we get to 92, I could see a 145% move, and all of a sudden people getting excited about Riot and talking about how Riot is the real good miner, and it's not all those other ones you heard about. So I think Riot will be fine. Camprog, another trash company, but I hold the small bag. Can you check on DDD 3Ds? It's a 3D printing company, so only Trump can help since it's innovating. Nice. There's that one, that ARK Invest one, Print, PRNT. I'm kind of interested in that one. Do they hold this? Let me save the chart real quick too. All right, so DDDD. 3 3D Systems, okay. I'll look at the financials on this one too, just to see if it's trash. Probably is. And again, and the other ones I'm showing guys like Ionic, maybe that's an amazing company in the future. Right now, it just screams trash because all I have are the financials and they look horrific. Maybe in the future they won't look horrific. And you'll see that change in the charts as it's starting to happen. And some people will make more gains because they are devoted earlier. If it does well, if it doesn't and it's just shit, then it doesn't really matter, right? They're just going to lose more money. So this one, the revenue's not getting better. They need to be a profitable company. That's always where I want to start is can you make money? Can you sell a widget or a thing that people want to buy and pay you a premium for? And do you have a moat with that? That's the hard thing with 3D printing. That's why like a fund might be a better opportunity. These guys lost in last quarter $27 million and they made in revenue 113. That's actually better than some. I do like the fact that at least for 4 quarters, we've seen them burn less cash flow. So free cash flow was negative 37 almost. Then it was negative 33. Then it was negative 28.7. Now it's negative 14.7. So if they can actually get to free cash flow and start making money, then this will be better. Right now, I don't see a road to that because revenues just aren't growing, but maybe they can lower expenses or something. I do like that they're actually buying their stock. That I don't know the people that are invested in this, but they believe in it. But that's good. And then institutional ownership was growing. It's just flatlined for years, 5 years. But maybe maybe manufacturing comes back, but maybe that gives them more competition. I don't like these margins. I don't know. This just isn't a company that interests me in the world we're in right now. Tesla's coming back? Interesting. Let's take a look. But yeah, that doesn't interest me so much right now. So TMF still doing good. Let's see. What are the miners doing? Is this updated? Bitcoin only down 0.5% at 63 or 68,377. That's okay. TMF still doing good. Best Buy doing good. And what kind of upside down world is Best Buy up today? Doge is up. U.S. oil's up. That's just stupid. Flux, and that's probably just because the betting markets think that Trump is going to lose, which is just dumb. Flux Power's up. That's ridiculous. Micron's up. Hood's up. Ooh, Hood. Am I making enough money to sell Hood? Should I sell some Hood? What does Hood look like? It hasn't bounced enough, though, from its big route. I did buy into that bounce, though. Nah, it's not really doing that good today either. 330, 345. Let me see. It still shows that their calls are down 4% today, even though it's up almost 2%. It just shows you how people are de-risking out of options today. It looks like the calls are probably flat on the day. Flat to slightly up, but not great. I'm only up 48% on my Hood position. So I probably want to keep that for now, unfortunately. TLT, Baba's up 1.5%. What a retarded day. Short Bitcoin's up. It's just PayPal's up. Cool. Is PayPal actually up? Up? Ooh, I am making money. I'm up 5% of my calls, maybe more. I've got over 450,000, almost 500,000 in PayPal. I might sell more. I might. We'll see. Ooh, Tesla's down big. Tesla's down 7.72, but it could go down more after. And PayPal's a liberal company. I'm going to hold my PayPal for now. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not inclined to. Tesla's only down 2.53% right now. Yeah, I just don't care. I'm just going to leave it alone. It's all good in the hood. Yeah, I don't know. There isn't much going on that I really care about. Check out Alta. Yeah, I'll look real quick. I'll look at financials first. I think they're better than most, if I remember correctly. But I thought they had like a high PE. No, they were low. 15.72. It's higher. The forward is higher than the current. I think they're just low on growth. Let me look at estimates. Revenues are kind of flatlining. EPS estimates are all right. It's not a bad company. Institutional ownership has been going down since 2013. Short interest spiked really hard in August 30th of 2024, but has went down since at 4.38%. Let's see what operating leverage. I mean, it looks like a little better. Revenue contribution. So their skincare, I don't know, what is going up? Skincare and hair care and fragrance are doing better, or at least doing all right. And so they're maintaining the pie. But cosmetics are going down. So Ulta isn't the cool thing for cosmetics anymore for some reason. Their net income, $252 million. So again, it's a good company. It's just not growing, right? And they're buying back tons of shares. They have been for years. Look at this. In 2019, they had 57.56 million, and now they're down to 47.5. But it just kind of reminds me of Best Buy. It's like, does that really mean anything? They had 64 million shares, 64.33 in 2014, and now they're down to 49.3. But the stock price is just like, I'm sure it's horrible. Yeah, I don't know. I don't love the fact that they have so much physical infrastructure. I think it hurts them. Print has DDD. Yeah, so why not get Print? I haven't looked at it, but maybe it has a good options chain, and if one or two of the companies in it end up doing well, then you can, reduce that risk but still have some good upside. Bacon Emoji says, smart money switched long. Stoic Outdoors. Good morning, Jesse. Can you check out financials for EOC Trump 2024? Yeah, I can. I don't love them as a company, though. I kind of shit on this one a lot. Let me just look here, though. So here's what I don't love. Look at the product revenue. It's just all over the fucking place. And their cash flow sucks. They have 45 million in negative cash flow last quarter, and they didn't even make $1 million in revenue. So it's so hard for me to be positive about this company. They say they're going to have 6 million in revenue after having really none this last quarter. They said they're going to have 6 next quarter. That's still way lower. It's like 33% lower than the almost 9 million they had in Q1 of 2023. Supposedly they have a big payout in Q4 of 2024. So if that's true, then that could help the company. But their EPS is still going to be negative, and their cash flow is still going to be negative. Their short interest is almost 27%. The insiders are buying back stock, but not a lot, and they sold a shit ton in 2021. Institutional ownership is in strong decline, and I just don't know. I just don't see anything really positive about this company. Maybe I'm wrong, and the fundamentals are just so much better than I really know. But they can't make a profitable product, and they're diluting shareholder value. So why would you own this trash when you could own Tesla or Bitcoin right now? I don't get it. Cam Prog's CleanSpark options are down 10%. I nibbled some. Cool. Congrats, man. Dario Ferraro, if Trump wins, will Tesla shares rise significantly later this week? We'll see 20%. We'll see 300 for sure. I think we see 300 for sure. I don't know if that's 20%. Let me look here real quickly. But I think it's I think you'll have some liberals that hold Tesla stock that'll think it's worse. But so I don't know. But I do think, 23% upside. Yeah, I think that's doable. I think that would make a lot of sense. That closes our gap over here at the 290-ish range. I think at least 290. So I think a 20% upside. Yeah, dude. I see at least 20%. I'll commit to that. That's definitely what's happening. Cam Prague, also, can you hit the like button for Jesse? You don't know how hard it is for him to come to the public when we have red days, and he's still doing it for us. Kudos. Yeah, man, I'm happy to, and I do appreciate all the likes and all you people that are just really devoted to the channel and the group. I really appreciate you guys. Ali Shahabi, CleanSpark mined 655 BTC in October. Are you shitting me? Did they really? So let me look here real quickly. So let me see. CleanSpark's down how much? CleanSpark's only down 4. Bitfarms is down 6. They did that much Bitcoin. That is so fucking crazy. Oh, wrong thing here. Wow, that's crazy, dude. That's so exciting. Is Fubo doing all right? Here's some more trash. Fubo. Oh, you just want me to look at it. Okay, we can do that. I actually do agree with this. I think Luca's right. Yeah, I think Luca's right. Measured move gets us into the 20s. Yeah, I like that. We're gonna post that. It doesn't have to be my content. I will post other content if I agree with it, because that's the right thing to do. And promoting other people too is the right thing to do. We don't all have to be like, only my content is great. It's rarely true. This is just such a fucking crazy number. I love this. CleanSpark is an easy buy today, guys. It's an easy one. I don't know if I'll end up buying. Maybe I buy after the election. If PayPal's doing well and Tesla and Bitcoin are getting destroyed, I will probably sacrifice a decent chunk of PayPal and buy Bitcoin, buy Tesla. So we'll see. But that's great. Thank you for letting me know about CleanSpark, buddy. EOC is a binary bet. Yeah. I mean, it could be asymmetric, but I just think it's a shitty one. Mr. Castellano, here's some more trash. Fubo, some of my favorite trash here, guys. You guys are getting really good. Fubo actually looks better than EOC. I mean, honestly, it's a better company, at least at face value right now. And it's not even good. $386 million in revenue, and they burned 52. But again, their burn rate for the amount of revenue they have, arguably better. Free cash flow last quarter, actually positive. EOC would love that. Subscription revenue due to get a bump in Q4, just based on seasonality. You can see it every year. You can see it here. You can see it here. You can see it here. So one could expect that again. I don't like that their internationals are rolling over. That kind of sucks. You'd want to, that would be a good growth mechanism for them. Dilution is still strong. Cash position getting burned down, doing nothing to really help G&A and S&M. So I should say S&M's gotten better, but G&A and general administrative is not getting better. And they should be reducing costs and trying to pull in more efficiency while doing whatever they can to expand. They have so much competition. So I just think this is a shitty stock. It's a shitty company, but it's less shitty than EOC. It's not as bad as that. Yeah, so Department of Energy loan. Oh, they're going to get a big loan. Is that loan impacted by the election? Does anybody know? Does anybody know? I'd be curious to know. I'd hope you guys would know if you're invested in the company. Is it impacted by the election? Can anybody tell me? Is it positive or negative? Or is there no impact at all? I don't know if I have a EOC. Did I add EOC to the list? I don't. If you guys want EOC, let me know. I can add it. I've got to sort these out anyway. I need to alphabetically fix this list. But if I have Ionic in here, I suppose I could put EOC in it too. Election has no impact at all. Nothing going to be like overthrown or kicked out based upon anybody getting into power. Well, if you guys want it, I can add that one. Let me look. Oh, so again, financials look like shit. It looks like a horribly run company looking at the financials. So, but you guys think that the Department of Energy is going to save them, and that's going to make it all okay. So I'll bite. I'll bite. So I do think that from a technical standpoint, looking at the chart, it is technically very overextended. It jumped from 62 cents all the way up to $3.60, and I'm pretty sure everybody who owned EOC was very excited for this. But we have a downward trend on the weekly time frame that started in June of 2024, almost 6 months ago, over 5, and it's pulling us down. It wants this thing to roll over at a time where we're barely sitting on the 200 moving average on the weekly. So let me just say that when you have a return off of something whose fundamentals maybe are okay, maybe the big Department of Energy request comes and then they figure out how to be profitable. All I can see from their financials is that they're not profitable and that even larger contracts won't necessarily help that. Maybe it gets them in less of a precarious situation of what they're in right now. But if I owned something that had financials that looked like this and it was up 400%, and I saw Bitcoin and Tesla dropping and getting beat up after the election, or maybe even now, I would question why I didn't take some of those gains and purchase more of the other things I just talked about. On Shadow 3D Child, the battery line is fully automated. That's great. Can they figure out how to make money, though? Can they figure out how to make money? When did they fully automate their line? Because their financials still look like trash. So if you guys, here's the deal. I keep hearing from EOC people for the last several years that all these good things are down the road, and everything I actually see still looks like shit. But I'm looking forward to you guys being right down the road and me being wrong. And I've looked forward to that enough that I'm willing to add this to the Discord for you guys to preach to me about how this company is going to be great in the future, even though their financials look like shit now. So we will add it. Because I'm equal opportunity. I allow you guys the opportunity to lose money of your own fruition. That's how it works, right? We all make our own choices. We all have our different levels of conviction and knowledge. You could be right on this, and I could be wrong. It's possible. I just don't see it yet. All right. Added. You guys got a channel. I'll try and sort this here today with all these others. And we've pinned it. So there you go. You guys got your own space. Talk amongst yourselves. Oh, and I had to reset this from people that had left too. So we're a little under 800 on this one, but we're still over 3,200 paying members across all the platforms. It looks like we gained a couple more here recently, so we're at 776. So probably 800 soon enough. And then I don't know what we're at on X. It's been growing. X has been growing a lot, actually. X is at 678, it says. I don't know how many. Oh, I must have got another one here. So that's a decent number. I'm gonna follow. I follow everybody that subscribes too, just so you guys know. All right. What else we got? Tesla sharp recovery, showing signs of a Trump victory. I think Trump's going to win. I think it's pretty clear to me. Paul Hoger, you think we drop more into earnings? Sorry, for what? Are you talking about EOC? I don't know. When are their earnings? When is that company doing their thing? November 5th. Tomorrow. Right at the election. I don't know, bro. Probably. Unless they have some amazing quarter, it's probably not going to be great. With the election tomorrow. And earnings. That seems like a peak scared on all sides, in my opinion. JD. Oh, that was the Tesla comment. So how is Tesla? How are the markets doing again? Let's just look. Let's go to the watch list one more time. And then I might call it here in the next 10 minutes, maybe a little bit earlier. Thank you to the 500 plus people that were here. You don't have to be here. I'm getting very political. That's not everybody's cup of tea. So I appreciate you guys if you were here. Bitfarms down 6.5, Riot down 5.56, Iron down 4.5, CleanSpark only down 3.5 with an amazing quarter for Bitcoin mined. Probably going to beat Mara. That's just nuts. Tesla down 1.5%. That's pretty good. Or I'm sorry, 1.5. Coinbase down 1.55. Coinbase just isn't the fastest horse right now. Palantir only down 0.6%. Big quarter this afternoon. Make sure you guys check out Amit. He'll be doing an earnings report for Palantir this afternoon. It's going to be real interesting, I'm sure. Dario says, at what price do you think Tesla will drop? Would you buy more call options then? Oh, yeah, definitely, dude. Again, I think I've kind of released my play. I think I released it, right, guys? My play is that if there's a victory for Kamala Harris, I think my play is that if she wins by some freak event, my play is probably to sell PayPal or maybe even some hood and to buy Tesla if it gets really crushed and to buy Bitcoin-related investments if they get really crushed. So that will be the goal. We'll see if it plays out that way, but that's the goal. Yesterday, I was in a supermarket and saw a young employee stocking shelves. I thought that in 5 years, it'll be Tesla robots doing that. It will be. Cam Prague, in-phase only goes up when Trump gets lower in polls. Yeah, I don't know. I think that could be potentially what people are thinking, but I think Trump is going to be incredibly pro-energy. He won't be biased to one sector, but he'll definitely be fighting China against them dumping their solar panels here. I think if anything, I mean, I don't know what the sourcing of Enphase is. I don't know the sourcing. But I think he'll actually be way more positive for renewables than people realize. He wants energy. All of it. Everything that helps him get reelected. Well capitalized. Sellout says tomorrow morning. Paul Hoger in general markets. I mean, Dario Ferraro, at what price do you think Tesla will drop? And would you buy call options? So yes, I will. And I think I already talked about Tesla and kind of how far it could drop. It could go to the 200, maybe even 185 range. And if it did that, I would be a buyer. I mean, I would be a buyer. And I don't give a fuck how far it dropped. I would buy. Because this company is literally getting autonomy out this next year, and they're going to have a cyber cab soon enough that will be driving people around in major states in this country and soon across the entire nation and the world. So, and whatever jurisdiction adopts it the soonest will benefit. But I don't actually think Tesla's going down. I think we're getting ready to launch because Trump's going to win. All right, guys, I think I've had enough for today. 2.5 hours in. I gave you my all. I hope you guys go out and vote if you're voting for Trump. If you're not voting for Trump, just stay home. I mean, fuck it. It's Kamala Harris. Why bother? So, but I love you guys, and I hope, I know in my heart, I think that tomorrow is going to go well, and that if it's not tomorrow, it's going to be the next day, and the next day after that. I have strong faith in the data that I'm looking at, that we're on the right side of history, and that's going to be proven true in 48 hours. So, love you all. Let's do this again tomorrow morning. Otherwise, you have a great day. Get out, touch grass, touch dirt, enjoy your life. Tell your family you love them. Focus on the things that are truly important and that you have control over. The only thing you have control over in the election is how you vote, and how much you tell people, and you're willing to share that with them, because you might influence their vote. So, outside of that, it's family and it's good times and everything else, and enjoy all those things. I'll talk to you guys later. Probably no music right now. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace out, guys. Love ya. Bye.